Chapter 1395. Wulong City Yi Family. The mansion stood tall and dazzling. Various forces had gathered in a tall building. Today was a joyous day for the Yi family. There was a rush from all directions, and the names of the gifts kept coming. 8th rank sect, Dragon Saint Qin Xian. 7th rank family, Heavenly Snow family. 7th rank family, Xiao Wuchang. 100 golden seats were erected in the hall. All the people seated there were renowned figures in the saints' world. They were either 7th grade sects or elders of 8th grade sections. They possessed great statuses. There were even some top geniuses sitting in the main hall. Even 2 geniuses from the Divine Flame Palace, who were insufferably arrogant that day, were present. Thank you for coming today. Yili Shui was wearing a long blue dress. She was as beautiful as a beauty under the moonlight. Time seemed to have not left any marks on her beautiful face. Many experts were either surprised, impressed, or fearful. This woman's iron hands were known to all in the 8th rank family. She had single-handedly taken care of the Yi family from its decline to its peak. She had even leaped to a new height. No one would treat her as an ordinary woman. Today is a joyous day for the Yi family and the Zhao family. It is an honor for the Yi family to be able to invite everyone to this joyous occasion. My daughter, Qingwu, will be marrying young master Zhao Mingyu from the Zhao family today. Yili Shui had just finished speaking. The groom has arrived. White clouds floated in the sky as a white-winged horse appeared. A handsome man with an arrogant expression sat on the horse. His face was extremely cold, and his nose bridge was high. He was 8 feet tall and had a dignified appearance. The winged horse landed, and the young man landed. His sharp eyes shocked all the geniuses present. This person was extremely strong. The experts of the older generation were even more solemn. Even a powerful Na Xing expert could feel the pressure from his body was no small matter. It was as if he wanted to suppress everyone as soon as he appeared. No wonder he is a candidate for the Sky Stairway competition. He lives up to his name. On the golden throne beside the main hall, a beautiful woman with a slender waist giggled. Her brows were picturesque, gentle like water, and like the spring rain in March. Her pair of moving eyes seemed to be filled with limpid autumn waters. Her crescent brows were slightly raised, and when she smiled faintly, her dimples would appear, causing many male monsters to be stunned. She was as beautiful as a fairy that had descended to the mortal world. She was Yu Xin, one of the top 10 beauties on the Demon Genius list. This was one of the reasons why so many male sky prides had come here. Today, they were lucky enough to see 2 people on the monster ranking at the same time at this wedding banquet. The 10 great beauties of the Demon Genius ranking were publicly acknowledged as the most beautiful women of the sacred boundary. Each of the 10 great beauties had their own merit. Wow, this person is almost comparable to senior brother, right? A mischievous little girl whispered and smiled at the white-clothed young man beside her. The handsome young man in white laughed and scolded, "What are you talking about? I'm just an outer palace force of the Divine Flame Palace. How can I compare to them?" The handsome young man took a deep look at Zhao Mingyu and said with deep meaning, "A life and death realm cultivator under 1,000 years old, and with the super monstrous talent of expanding his acupoints by 1,000 times, he is a true monster. In terms of potential, he is comparable to the sky prides of the palace." At this moment, Zhao Mingyu slightly bowed. "Greetings, madam." Zhao Mingyu bowed. From the beginning to the end, his face was filled with arrogance. Yi Lishu revealed a rare smile. "We will be a family from now on. Ha ha, please take care of me, Madame Lishue. This unfilial descendant of mine still has many things to learn from you." A lofty laughter rang out, and a white light flashed in the sky. A figure instantly appeared above the main hall. His bright eyes seemed to flash with lightning, and his body was straight. Just by sitting there, his aura was so strong that it was like the peak of a mountain. "Big Brother Zhao." Yi Lishue nodded slightly. The person who came was the head of the Zhao family, an ambitious and ruthless person. Invite the bride. I also want to see if my daughter-in-law is to my liking. The head of the Zhao family laughed casually. Like a tiger roaring and thunder, he was imposing without being angry. Yi Lixue sat down and said indifferently, "Invite the bride." Voila! A rainbow-colored light shone down from the 9 heavens, attracting the attention of everyone. A beautiful woman slowly appeared in the rainbow-colored light. The beautiful woman had a slender figure, a fiery red dress, a purple jade crown, and a pearl jade phoenix hairpin. The beauty swayed like a green flower in spring. Her red lips were slightly opened, and the beautiful face of a young girl was pure and flawless. Her brows were like the distant mountains, but they were hazy and charming. She was truly an enchanting beauty. This woman was the little demon empress Yi Qinggu. Zhao Mingyu, who had always been arrogant, couldn't help but reveal a bit of passion at this moment. It would be difficult to find a second person like her in the world. She is really stunning every time I see her. If I were a man, I might be mesmerized by her. Yu Xin'er, who was also one of the top 10 beauties, could not help but exclaim. The sacred boundary of a beautiful woman was unknown, but the only thing that was difficult to change was her temperament. The little demon empress perfectly controlled the purity of a young girl and the seductive temperament of a demoness, perfectly combining them. Her smile and frown could charm all living things. It was not an exaggeration at all. The little demon empress was neither happy nor sad. She walked in front of her mother and bowed. Yi Lixue pretended to smile and said, "Qinggu, mother is very happy that you and Mingyu can tie the knot. From today onwards, your dance will only belong to Mingyu." The women of the Yi family had to learn a dance from birth. The little demon empress dance was even called the dance of a demoness by the Yi family, unparalleled in the world. After she became an adult, she had never appeared in the world. After that, her dance would only belong to the man she loved. Should I be envious or sympathetic? As a woman, will my fate be like this? Yu Xin looked at Yi Qinggu, whose eyes seemed to have lost their light, and felt complicated. Qinggu knows. The little demon empress bowed slightly. Zhao Mingyu revealed a smile that he thought was handsome. "Qinggu, since you have entered the Zhao family, I will not treat you badly." The little demon empress did not say anything. Yi Lixue did not care about her expression and continued, "Matchmaker, you may begin." At this time, a charming young matchmaker appeared. She was also a powerful Saint Realm cultivator, and she spoke in a delicate voice. "Let us invite the 2 newlyweds to bow to the heavens and earth." At this time, the sound of different instruments filled the air, and the entire Yi family could hear it clearly. "What's going on? It's not time for you to play music yet." Madame Yi Lixue frowned and asked coldly. Whoosh! A ray of holy light descended, and a Saint Realm cultivator appeared in the hall with cold sweat. He knelt on one knee and reported, "Madam, there are 6 people dressed in black outside, carrying a coffin. They are also playing music. They said that they are a professional team and came uninvited." Boom! The Yi family's door was blasted open. How can such a scene be without the most handsome man in the sacred boundary, right? Little friends of the Yi family, I am the captain of the Black Horse Club's coffin-carrying team. We are a professional team and came uninvited. If you are unhappy, hold it in. The young man's cynical laughter made the little demon empress tremble. Chapter 1396. When the Yi family's main door was blasted open, a group of people walked into the main hall. They moved swiftly and aggressively. It was the people from Purple Cloud King Valley. The experts of the Yi family immediately stood up. The honored guests even revealed playful smiles. Since they were here to watch a show, they naturally hoped that the bigger the show, the better. Oh, they're finally here? Purple Cloud King Valley. Yi Lixue was not surprised. She had expected Purple Cloud King Valley to come. However, The only thing she was surprised about was the youth leading the group at the front. She had never seen this person before. She also had no impression of him. Looking at all the talents within the 8th grade, she had some understanding of each and every one of them. However, she had no impression of him at all. Oh, could it be that someone wants to cause trouble for the Yi family today? Quick, let's fight. We must fight. The mischievous girl excitedly waved her little fist. The white-clothed youth helplessly shook his head. When he looked over, he was instantly stunned. He had seen this youth before. Uxian immediately stood up. Her beautiful eyes stared forward as she muttered to herself, "Could it be that someone can save you at this juncture, Yi Qingwu, come home with us? Yeah, you don't have to be afraid this time. We're all here. You don't have to compromise anymore. Father, I won't let you carry everything alone this time. Let's go home." Zi Tianhu and the rest shouted at the little demon empress. Lin Chen walked straight into the main hall. When he looked around, his gaze finally landed on the little demon empress, Yi Lixue and Zhao Mingyu. The little demon empress anxiously said, "Why did you bring everyone here? Go back quickly." The little demon empress instantly understood Lin Chen's good intentions. The two of them understood each other too well. However, the little demon empress would definitely not let him do anything rash. This would destroy him. There was a world of difference between an 8th grade force and a 7th grade sect. Lin Chen's actions this time were equivalent to putting the Yi family's face on the table. Furthermore, there was also the Zhao family. With the foundation of the two families, even if they wanted to destroy a 7th grade sect, it would only take a few words. Lin Chen suddenly smiled and said, "Little Demoness, you should know me very well. I won't do things that I'm not confident in." Zhao Mingyu raised an eyebrow. "You know him very well?" Lin Chen smiled. "Yes, I know her very well. She knows my strengths and I know her strength." Before the little demon empress could persuade Lin Chen, Yi Lixue waved her hand. "My Yi family doesn't need such an impolite guest. Men, send the guest out." Boom! A total of 20 life and death realm experts and 10 star receiving realm experts of the Yi clan appeared out of thin air in the main hall. This move made many people feel a bit stifled. Yi Lixue had been prepared for this. The 30 powerhouses grabbed at the void, causing the space to ripple violently. Just as they were about to teleport everyone away, a grayish-white talisman descended from the sky, shaking the heavens and shaking the earth before exploding in an instant. All the experts in the hall felt that the space around them had become stagnant. It was extremely strange. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Lin Chen's body turned into a series of afterimages, and with a series of explosive kicks, all the life and death and star receiving realm martial artists who had yet to make a move were blown away. Hiss! Many monstrous geniuses gasped. In an instant, 20 6th-level saints and 10 7th-level saints were blown away just like that? This was 2F** King Fake. Were you putting on an act? Even some 8th-level experts couldn't help but have a slight change in expression at this level of strength. If Lin Chen was an old monster-level expert, they wouldn't be surprised at all. The previous 10 7th-level saints were at most early-stage star-receiving realm and had opened 61 saint acupoints. However, he was a young man on the same level as the monstrous genius list. Even within the top 5,000 of the monstrous genius list, only a handful of people could do what he did just now. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns. Oh, what an interesting young man. However, if you want to ruin my Zhao clan's happy occasion with this little ability, you are overestimating yourself a little. Boom! The space around them trembled and kept on pressing down. The Zhao clan master's half-step heaven-opening realm aura was like the sun shining high in the sky, crushing Lin Chen's body and trying to suppress him. However, not only was Lin Chen not affected, he even took a step forward. Lin Chen looked straight at the Zhao clan master and the latter narrowed his eyes. This young man was not bluffing. Little Demonis, speak your truth. There is no need to wrong yourself. I guarantee that with me here, no one can touch Purple Cloud King Valley. Lin Chen looked straight at the little demon empress. If you have someone you like and want to marry, I won't even blink. However, if you are forced to compromise for your own happiness, I can't just stand by and watch. If you still think of me as a good friend, then speak your mind. Qinggu, the entire Purple Cloud King Valley will stand on your side. This time, Father came to bring you back. The grudges of the previous generation should have ended long ago. It shouldn't be carried by you. The little demon empress expression darkened and brightened. When Zi Mingyue spoke, Yi Lishue's expression was extremely cold. Zi Mingyue, are you saying that the Purple Cloud King Valley is declaring war on my Yi clan? Yi Lishue's saint energy fluctuations faintly shattered the void. Her cultivation was actually only inferior to the half-step heaven opening realm patriarch Zhao. She was also at the peak of the Sacred Heart realm. She opened 80 saint meridians, and her saint energy covered the heavens and earth. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Streaks of light descended as the Yi clan sent out even more experts and surrounded the entire hall. Youngsters nowadays really want to cause trouble just because they have a little bit of ability. Our Yi clan has not appeared in the world for too long. Are we being treated as soft persimmons? This is not good. The figures of the Yi clan's 3 great elders appeared like ghosts. They were 3 extremely powerful Sacred Heart realm experts. The people of Purple Cloud King Valley were ready for battle. The atmosphere was tense and it looked like a fight would break out at any moment. Everyone, don't be so angry. I have something to say, please listen to it. At this time, the Grand Elder of the Flame Region's Myriad Flame Hall smiled and tried to smooth things over. It was another expert with a perfect Sacred Heart realm expert. Lin Chen suddenly smiled and said, "Are you from the Flame Region's Myriad Flame Hall?" That Grand Elder was startled and smiled amiably. "Why? Does little friend know this old man? What advice do you have?" Lin Chen did not say a word. He flung his palm and a streak of light shot into the old man's hand. He received it slightly. When he opened his palm, it was a fiery red fragment of a sharp arrow blade. The amiable smile on his face stopped abruptly. His expression gradually turned from shock to horror. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the space above the Yi clan roared and an endless vortex of fire waves appeared. It was enough to show how great the waves in the Grand Elder's heart were. Everyone was bewildered. What did this brat give to make Elder Wanhua, who had always been calm, become so shaken? Thousands of thoughts flashed through his mind. After a breath, Elder Wanhua said in a trembling voice, What is your relationship with that lord?" Lin Chen smiled, confident and carefree. "Master and servant. I am the lord and he is the servant." Plop! Elder Wanhua knelt down on the spot and said excitedly, "I will never forget the favor of saving my life and restoring the Myriad Flame Hall. Since the Lord has acknowledged the young master as his master, then these old bones of mine will also follow the young master's lead. Today, no matter what the young master wants to do, I, Wanhua, will follow him to the end." Everyone's scalp suddenly exploded. What was going on? The Grand Elder of an 8th grade great sect knelt down just like that? Damn it, didn't you come out to be a peacemaker? You knelt down as soon as you came out and suddenly want to join them. Chapter 1397. The powerhouses of the grade 8 sects were all shocked. Why had Elder Wanhua suddenly knelt down? Why was a veteran powerhouse of a grade 8 sect crying tears of joy? Was it the distortion of human nature or the decay of morals behind all this? Or was it the extreme challenge of staying up all night for group sports? What method did he use to make Elder Wanhua so resolute in helping him? Yi Lishue's gaze was fixed on Lin Chen. She increasingly felt that this youth was not simple. The few elders and the 2 monstrous prodigies who had come with Elder Wanhua to attend the banquet were all dumbfounded. What was going on? Elder Wanhua's status was equivalent to the most powerful Grand Elders and Hall Masters. He might not be the strongest in 10,000 Flames Palace, but his seniority and experience were extremely high. He was a senior who had existed since the establishment of 10,000 Flames Palace and was one of the most influential people in the palace. He usually valued harmony and would never attack anything that could be communicated with a smile. Even if a war broke out, he would still have a kind smile. He had never shown such a firm attitude as he did today. Elder Wanhua ignored everyone's shocked gazes and asked in a trembling voice, "Sir, is that lord still alive?" "Ah!" Lin Qin laughed heartily. "With me protecting him, he is doing very well. His life is already in danger, and he will return one day." Boom! Elder Wanhua stood up and bowed deeply to Lin Chen with cupped fists. "Sir, your kindness in saving Elder Wanhua is equivalent to saving 10,000 Flames Palace. Not to mention, all the people of 10,000 Flames Palace present today are willing to serve you." Elder Wanhua's words stirred up a huge commotion. Even the elders who followed him had a dumbfounded look on their faces. Lin Chen smiled faintly in a carefree manner. "Don't worry, I will settle today's matter. You just have to be responsible for protecting my people." With just one sentence, his ambition and tolerance were fully displayed. Many powerhouses' mouths twitched. How arrogant was this youth? Was he really not giving face to the Yi and Zhao families? Was he going to face two 8th-rank aristocratic families by himself? Yi Lixue frowned. "Elder Wanhua, you have to think carefully. You know the rules between rank 8 forces." Standing in the same direction as Lin Chen, Elder Wanhua flicked his sleeves and laughed. "Madam Yi, let's not talk about anything else. If this young master suffers any losses today, the final result will be a war between the two families. If the palace master and my brothers were here, they would make the same choice as me." Hiss! Some sect masters of rank 7 sects sucked in a breath of cold air. The two families were at war. Every rank 8 sect was a giant in the sacred boundary. All they had to do was send a few more experts, and they would be able to crush a 7th-grade sect. An all-out war between two grade 8 forces would signify the start of a real war. In the era when the rank 9 sects were ignorant of worldly affairs, rank 8 sects were the pinnacle of the sacred boundary. Almost all the powerhouses were racking their brains. What kind of bewitching potion did this kid feed the myriad fire elder to make him so determined? The people from Violet Cloud King Valley were ecstatic. Lin Chen indeed had a backup plan. He had only been here for a short while, and he had already roped in a rank 8 sect. He was too strong. Was this the charm of the most handsome man in the sacred boundary? They were in love with him. An elder of a rank 8 sect couldn't help but say, "I say, are you a fake Elder Wanhua? What kind of bewitching potion did he give you to make you so infatuated?" The myriad fire elder shook his head and smiled. Apart from the palace master and a few others, no one else would understand. Just as the atmosphere between the two sides became more and more tense, "Enough." Zhao Mingyu spoke. Everyone turned to look at him. If it was an ordinary monstrous genius, they wouldn't have the right to speak in such a big situation. But he was different. He was a super genius who would definitely leave his name in history. Even the Zhao family master had to weigh the weight of his words. He walked in front of Lin Chen. The two young men's gazes were like sabers and swords. Killing intent filled the air before they even made a move. Zhao Mingyu said coldly, "Tell me your name. Who do you think you are? How dare you disturb my plan?" He stomped his foot and the whole Yi family shook. The space trembled violently. Most of the monstrous geniuses present felt dizzy and almost lost their balance. Lin Chen stood still. But he was a little wary of Zhao Mingyu. This person was very strong. His saint power fluctuations were far beyond the range of the life and death realm. It even surpassed some of the star realm experts Lin Chen had killed before. Lin Chen took a step forward. The two faced each other and were very close to each other. The girl next to the handsome young man suddenly said, "At this distance, it's usually either a fight or a kiss. Keep your voice down." The senior brother glared at her. "Me? I've brought a professional team today." Lin Chen smiled and pointed at the black wooden coffin that was lifted by the 6 clones behind him. Lin Chen? All the experts were stunned. This person was Lin Chen, the one who challenged the authority of the genius list? The grade 8 sects received a lot of information every day. After Lin Chen made a scene, he sneaked into the sacred prison and disappeared. Most of the experts didn't recall him immediately. "It's really him. TSK, TSK, TSK. The lover of our divine flame palace's goddess, Lin Chen. As expected of the goddess's lover. He's in grade 8 sect, and he's so decisive." The handsome young man clicked his tongue in wonder. Rumble. At this moment, Zhao Mingyu's finger pierced through the void and pierced toward Lin Chen. Divine Dragon Possession. With the Divine Dragon Possession, Lin Chen's body was surrounded by eternal green light. When a slow rune shot out, Zhao Mingyu's shocking finger was frozen for a moment. Lin Chen threw a punch with the Divine Dragon's 7 trillion dragon power. Chi. Bang. The space between them exploded. Elder Wanhua, who was closest to them, waved his sleeve and sealed a large area of space. The shock waves from the two's fight were instantly locked in a space of 300 meters. The people of Purple Cloud King Valley took advantage of Lin Chen's attack to flash left and right and pull the little demon empress back to their side. Yi Lishua wasn't in a hurry to attack. Today was the Yi family's headquarters. They didn't have the slightest chance of snatching her. The dust dispersed, and the space between the two turned into a formless vacuum. All the buildings disappeared, and the two walked on air. Zhao Mingyu flicked his finger. Lin Chen patted the dust off his shoulder. Zhao Mingyu was disdainful. Body refining sage realm? With just 7 trillion dragon power, you think you're worthy of standing in front of me? Lin Chen smiled. Don't be anxious. I haven't shown my specialty yet. Yi Lishua waved her hand. Activate the spatial formation and prepare to take them down. Patriarch Zhao slowly stood up, and all the Yi family experts appeared in the void. Elder Wanhua stood on Purple Cloud King Valley's side, and everyone was on guard. At this moment, a lazy voice suddenly sounded. Aya, it's fine if young people are anxious, but why are you guys so anxious? All the experts present were shocked. A stumbling figure appeared between Lin Chen and Zhao Mingyu like a ghost, and gently pushed the two of them 100 meters away. The drunk old man raised his wine jug, and after taking a big gulp, he looked deeply at Lin Chen. His gaze seemed to see through all the secrets on Lin Chen's body, and there was a sense of deterrence in his lazy gaze. However, what shocked the old man was that not only was Lin Chen not panicked, he even nodded and smiled at the drunk old man. In an instant, a clear light flashed across the drunk old man's eyes. This young man was a little ridiculous. Chapter 1398. It's Zui Laowang. Even this old monster is here. TSK, TSK, TSK. This is getting more and more interesting. This is really fun. All the grade 8 forces experts were amazed. Zui Laowang was one of the main experts in charge of the Stairway Tournament. An old monster who had reached the heaven-opening stage since ancient times. Zui Laowang was very curious. He knew that the Yi clan had asked the 3 great fortune-tellers to predict that the Purple Cloud Valley would come. However, he did not expect this variable to be a young man. More importantly, he could not see through this young man called Lin Chen. He could not see through him at all. Raising a holy dragon in captivity? In addition, his body refinement strength is very strong. His mental state is unfathomable and his mind is firm. He is not inferior to some of the top experts that I have fought before. How did he achieve this at such a young age? However, why can't I feel any holy energy? Only 30 holy acupuncture points are opened, but they are like stagnant water. There is no movement. The more he could not see through him, the more it proved that this young man was not simple. Zui Laoweng retracted his gaze and looked at Zhao Mingyu. Young man from the Zhao clan, if you fight here, your qualification to participate in the stairway tournament will definitely be disqualified. So, do you still want to fight? Zui Laoweng said with a hint of mockery. Zhao Mingyu was very calm. Since Senior is here, you must have a plan. I am willing to listen to Senior's suggestion. Zui Laoweng laughed. Young man, you are quite smart. How about this? Today's banquet will be put on hold. I will be the judge. Your battle will be held in the stairway tournament. The ranking will be based on the two of you. Whoever can reach the higher ranking will be the winner. If the two of you can reach the finals, the result of the finals will be the winner. Of course, the possibility of that is not high. After winning, neither party can have any objections. Those who violate the rules will have to fight with me. What do you think of this suggestion? Zui Laoweng looked like he was waiting for a good show. The crowd was even more excited. In the stairway tournament, one of the top 10 beauties on the monster ranking and 2 people on the monster ranking would fight each other. On one side, there was a super dark horse newcomer who dared to challenge the authority. On the other side, there was a legendary genius. Who would be better? Zhao Mingyu had his hands behind his back. The arrogance between his brows could be said to be extremely conceited. This young master can accept this suggestion, but the prerequisite is that certain people must be qualified to participate in the competition. There was a hint of mockery in his voice. Everyone looked at Lin Chen. That's right. Lin Chen's ranking on the demon ranking list was below 9,000. With this ranking, he was not qualified to participate in the inner circle stairway tree competition like Zhao Mingyu. He could barely participate in the outer circle stairway tree competition. Ordinary geniuses were rare, but this was the center stage of the sacred boundary, the heavenly sanctuary. A demonic genius ranked in the 9,000th place was not considered a very amazing person. The little demon empress said worriedly, Lin Chen, she had seen Lin Chen's battle in the mystic domain. In all fairness, if Lin Chen used that golden armor, he would be very strong, but he still couldn't compare to Zhao Mingyu. Because this person's foundation in acupoint expansion and acupoint condensation could be said to be heaven-defying. His foundation was too strong. Lin Chen suddenly smiled and said, The always lawless little demoness is also worried about people? This is the first time I've seen your expression. Then, he said with a voice that only the two of them could hear. Little demoness, how long have you known me? Think back, from the time you knew me to the last time we met, how fast was my growth? You can't be thinking that I stayed up late to pick up girls for half a year, right? The corner of Lin Chen's mouth rose slightly, giving the little demon empress an incomparably reassuring smile. Without absolute confidence, how would he dare to kill his way into the heavenly sanctuary? At this time, Zui Laoweng said again. Yes, indeed. According to this little guy's ranking, he doesn't have the right to participate. This old man can't make an exception and give him a spot. I remember there's a rule. That little girl explain the situation. After saying that, Zui Laoweng smiled at the beautiful Yuxian in the main hall and said, My brain is not working well. There are too many rules that I can't remember. Everyone looked at Yuxian. She was natural and unrestrained, like the snow in June that bloomed in the east. She was elegant and out of this world. She took light steps and bowed to everyone, then smiled sweetly. Senior, according to the rules of the Heavenly Stairway Tournament, in order to take care of those monstrous geniuses who are in seclusion all year round and don't have the heart to compete for the rankings, the tournament has specially introduced an exception mechanism to expand one's acupoint. If one's ranking is not enough to participate in the Heavenly Stairway Tournament, as long as one's acupoint expansion reaches the standard, they can ignore the ranking barrier and directly participate in the Heavenly Stairway Tournament. Yuxian's pretty eyes turned. She looked at Lin Chen with interest as she spoke in a pensive manner. In the outer region Heavenly Stairway Tournament, you need to expand your acupoints 10 times, with a total of 350 times. You can only participate if you expand your acupoints no less than 33 times. In the inner region Heavenly Stairway Tournament, you need to expand your acupoints 10 times, with a total of 700 times. You can only participate if you expand your acupoints no less than 65 times. 700 times. Hearing this number, many elders of the 7th rank sects shook their heads and sighed. It was too difficult. Expanding acupoints 7 times 10 times meant that every time you opened a saint point, you would have to expand it by an average of 70 times. Hee little guy, you're hiding your cultivation, right? Or rather, you haven't expanded your acupoints yet, right? As long as you can reach the requirements of the tournament, you can make an exception and participate. How about it? Zui Laoweng looked at Lin Chen with appreciation and playfulness. But Lin Chen snapped his fingers and smiled coquettishly. No problem, I have enough confidence. Wait a minute. A cold voice interrupted Lin Chen. It was Madame Yi Lixue. I don't agree to this agreement. Yi Lixue's eyes were extremely cold. She walked in front of Lin Chen and the people of Purple Cloud King Valley, and said coldly, "This kid offended my Yi family first. Yi Qingwu is my daughter, so it is not up to an outsider to interfere." The little demon empress bit her teeth and said, "He is not an outsider." Yi Lixue raised her eyebrows and said, "What, is he your lover?" Mother, you. Without waiting for the little demon empress to speak, Zi Tianhu and the others were enraged. Woman, how much more aggressive do you want to be? Do you have a heart? Can't you see that Qingwu doesn't want to marry your own daughter? Yi Lixue was still cold and indifferent. No matter how heartless I am, she is still my daughter. Don't forget, her surname is Yi, not Zi. Zi Mingyue was burning with anger. The gentle and elegant him had balls of purple light in his palm, protecting the little demon empress. The atmosphere between the two sides began to become tense again. Lin Chen raised his hand and stopped everyone from Purple Cloud King Valley. Auntie Yi, I respect Qingwu as a good friend and call you Auntie. Lin Chen's eyes stared straight at this cold and emotionless beauty. I have always liked to meddle in my friend's business. Not to mention, Qingwu and I are friends who have gone through life and death together. If she has a good husband, I will not stop her. But now, if you want to force her and use your power to oppress me, forgive me for being blunt. Even if your Yi family's ancestor comes today, I will still take her away. If the monstrous genius list's enforcement team can't stop me, Lin Chen, your Yi family can't stop me either. Chapter 1399. Lin Chen's resolute attitude moved everyone. Yuxian became more and more curious about how many more secrets he had, and Elder Wanhua was even more determined to stand by Lin Chen. To be able to revive that lord, no matter how the other elders tried to persuade him, he still believed that this youth had the ability to reach the heavens. The little demon empress clenched her fists and bit her red lip. Just as she was about to speak, Lin Chen spoke again. However, Qingwu is willing to follow the Yi family name. I believe that there is still a place for you in her heart. I hope that you will not completely destroy the last chance for negotiation. Yi Lixue frowned slightly. She looked at the little demon empress and realized that she was also looking at her. The mother and daughter looked at each other. The little demon empress' eyes were filled with tears. Yi Lixue was able to control the Yi family and her methods were exquisite. She definitely would not let her opponent have his way so easily. Purple Cloud King Valley could use this youth to rise from the ashes. He was definitely not an ordinary person. It was best to completely destroy him and let the Yi family take back Qingwu with the least loss. If an all-out war broke out and there was still someone from 10,000 Flames Palace here, the Yi family would definitely pay a heavy price. This was not Yi Lishue's way of doing things. She coldly said, Aijia is willing to give Qing Wu face. If I were to capture all of you, Aijia would not be willing to entrust Qing Wu, whose heart has been damaged, to the Zhao family. However, before meeting Senior Zui Lao Weng's requirements, you must fulfill Aijia's conditions. Lin Chen invited, please speak. Yi Lishue said, let's focus on the acupoint expansion realm. Your total acupoint expansion cannot be lower than young master Zhao Mingyu. If your acupoint expansion exceeds young master Zhao Mingyue's, the Heaven Stairway competition ranking will be used for the final comparison. The loser will obey all the requests of the winner. When she said this, the expressions of all the VIPs and guests were extremely interesting. Even Yu Xin felt that it was a little inconceivable. This condition was too difficult. As for Zhao Mingyue and Patriarch Zhao, both father and son shook their heads and laughed. If that was the case, then there was really no need to compete. They more or less knew that Lin Chen had some super powerful trump cards that he kept secret. He could use external forces to fight against high-level experts for a short period of time. Yi Lishue also knew about this. However, if the premise of the duel was to reach Zhao Mingyue's acupoint expansion multiplier, then there was really no way to compete. Moreover, even if Lin Chen managed to surpass Zhao Mingyu in terms of acupoint expansion, however, the latter was a life and death realm expert who had surpassed the aperture expansion realm and the transformation realm. In terms of actual combat, Zhao Mingyu's chances of winning were still extremely high. Madame Yi Lishue's conditions were too ruthless. This was equivalent to giving the Yi family double insurance. Zi Tianhu said angrily, aren't you bullying me? Yi Lishue's expression was cold. If you can't compare, then leave Qing Wu behind and scram with your tails between your legs. I only have this condition. There's nothing else to discuss. Lin Chen raised his hand and smiled casually without thinking. All right, no problem. He accepted it. He really had guts. This Lin Chen kid was full of guts. Even Zui Lao Weng had a higher opinion of him. Lin Chen said with a smile. As Auntie Yi said, if I can't surpass him, I will immediately forfeit the Stairway tournament. If my ranking in the Stairway tournament is lower than his, or if I lose to him, it will be considered as my loss. I hope that the Yi family won't go back on their word. Yi Lishue revealed a smile for the first time. You have guts. I admire men with guts. You are even better than Zi Mingyue back then. However, Qing Wu will always belong to the Yi family. Zui Laoweng chuckled and said, I'm here. Don't worry. I'll be waiting for your performance at the Tower of Babel. Little guy, I'm looking forward to it. At this moment, the other prodigy of the Zhao family could not hold it in any more. He stood up with a mocking expression. Arrogant fool. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Do you know how many times my cousin Zhao Mingyu has expanded his acupoints? How dare you spout nonsense here? Lin Chen suddenly laughed. How many times he has expanded his acupoints has nothing to do with me. Everyone was stunned, and that prodigy was even more stunned. This tone was simply arrogant to the heavens, right? Listening to this tone, could it be that he had absolute confidence? After speaking, Lin Chen turned around and left with the people of Purple Cloud King Valley with the little demon empress. Seeing that the two sides did not fight, only the elders and prodigies of Myriad Flames Palace heaved a sigh of relief. If they fought and something happened, they would be the most wronged. They were inexplicably pulled into a team by Elder Wanhua and stood against the Yi family and Zhao family. They would be the ones at a loss. Zhao Mingyu said angrily, Leave Qing Wu. Yi Lishue raised her hand and said indifferently, Young Master Zhao Mingyu, don't be impatient. Qing Wu is still a virgin. Let her be with the people of Purple Cloud King Valley for the time being. That kid won't touch her. Zhao Mingyu frowned and said, What is Madame's confidence? Staring at Lin Chen's departing back, Yi Lishue only said two words. Intuition. When everyone left the Yi family openly and headed to Flying Dragon City, they felt like they were in a dream. Zi Tianhu and the others, who had originally planned to fight a bloody battle, had actually retreated unscathed? This was too inconceivable. "You're too reckless." The little demon empress' eyes were slightly red as she rebuked Lin Chen. Lin Chen shrugged and said with a smile, "How is this reckless? Don't you know me? Don't worry, no matter how strong he is, can he be stronger than Lin Xingchen? You're not the only one who has been cultivating desperately for the past half a year." Zi Mingyue comforted her daughter, Qin Guo. "I believe in Lin Chen. He definitely did this because he was confident. I'm also very curious. What confidence does Prince Lin Chen have?" At this time, a woman's voice was like an aureole behind everyone who had just entered Flying Dragon City. When everyone turned around, a beautiful woman stepped on the air and arrived, causing the monstrous geniuses of the Thousand Flames Palace to gasp in amazement. They were extremely envious of Lin Chen. Meeting two of the top 10 beauties of the monstrous genius list at the same time, not many men in the world could have such good fortune. Uxin stretched out her slender hand and smiled sweetly at Lin Chen. Prince Lin Chen, hello. Uxin ranked 2050 on the monstrous genius list. Lin Chen stretched out his hand and clasped it. Then, he let go with a casual smile. "A nameless junior, Lin Chen." Uxin rolled her eyes at him charmingly. "If Prince Lin Chen is a nameless junior, then wouldn't I be a junior?" Lin Chen laughed in his heart. "Miss, you're not young at all?" Uxin asked curiously. Prince Lin Chen Xin is really curious. Zhao Mingyu has expanded his acupoints 10 times, and his total acupoint expansion is 1,850 times. The transformation realm is 230 times. Facing such a foundation, where does your confidence come from? Hiss. The three monstrous geniuses of the Thousand Flames Palace sucked in a breath of cold air. They were far away in the flame region, and had only heard that Zhao Mingyu had expanded his acupoints by 1,000 times. However, they had never thought that it would reach an astronomical figure of 1,850 times. Chapter 1400. The three geniuses from the Thousand Flames Palace clicked their tongues. That's too scary. What kind of monster is that? 1850 times expansion of acupoints and 230 times condensation of acupoint. In terms of pure strength, his basic strength has reached 925 billion dragon power points. An ordinary perfect 5th level saint would only have about 150 billion dragon power points after expansion. Zhao Mingyu, on the other hand, was able to kill an ordinary perfect 5th level saint when he was only at the perfect expansion realm. Even the people from the Purple Cloud King Valley turned pale. They knew very well that the expansion realm was only building the foundation. On average, one saint point is 185 times expansion. That's 92.5 billion dragon power points. Based on the condensation realm's 23 times expansion, that's 23 times 92.5 billion dragon power points. Even the arrogant Zi Tianhu could not help but twitch his mouth. 23 times 92.5 billion dragon power points would be 2,127.5 billion dragon power points. In other words, Zhao Mingyu could obtain more than 2,100 billion saint points by opening one saint point. With 10 saint points in the condensation realm added together, his combat strength when he was at the perfect condensation realm was over 22,200 billion dragon power points. 22 trillion dragon power points. This combat strength was enough to kill an ordinary saint at the star-receiving realm. He was a true monster who could challenge those at a higher level. Moreover, he was a monster who could challenge those at 2 levels higher. Most importantly, this was only the combat strength he had when he opened 50 saint points and was at the perfect condensation realm. Right now, Zhao Mingyu was at the life and death realm. He had opened 56 saint points. No one knew just how strong he was. Just like how Lin Chen had used the slow rune on Zhao Mingyu, it did not even manage to stop him. It only managed to delay him for 1/100th of a breath. If Lin Chen wanted to defeat him, even with the experience of a rank 8 sect, no matter what angle he looked at it from, there was no chance of him winning. They recognized Lin Chen's courage and potential, and even more so, they recognized that he was full of courage at such a young age. However, in this world, the winner would always be the king. Only strength was everything. To be more extreme, based on the information that Lin Chen had obtained from the rank 8 sect, with Zhao Mingyu's foundation and Saint Energy defense, even if he stood there and let Lin Chen hit him, Lin Chen might not be able to break through his defense. Therefore, Yi Lixue was confident that Zhao Mingyu could crush Lin Chen. Just the acupoint expansion alone was enough to stop him and take back the little demon empress with the smallest price. Moreover, Lin Chen had just forged a new saint artifact, so he hadn't replenished much of the set's essence yet. It was difficult for the four-piece war god set to display too much power. Lin Chen's only chance of victory was the slowing rune and acupoint expansion. Not only Uxin, but everyone also subconsciously looked at Lin Chen. That's right. What confidence did he have to defeat Zhao Mingyu? Lin Chen said with a smile on his face. Why should I be so sure? You rely on your opponent. You don't know how strong I, Lin Chen, am. Uxin's heart trembled. These words were arrogant to the extreme, but there was a kind of arrogance in them that looked down on the world without any conceit. When Lin Chen broke into the holy prison, he had fought with too many top experts. For example, if an ordinary person was placed in an environment where he had to fight with tigers and lions all day long and was suddenly placed in an environment with a pack of small wolf dogs, not only would that person not feel that the wolf dogs were fierce, but they would also feel that they were a little cute. This was an absolute transformation that originated from one's mental state. Uxin's cherry lips parted slightly. Just as she was about to ask Lin Chen, he pretended to laugh evilly. Ha ha, beauty you, right? The good show is yet to come. Don't be in a hurry to know everything. Sometimes, it's not the best to know everything in advance. Being subtle is the art. Just like when you're about to get married, wouldn't it be boring if you knew the groom's size in advance? You have to witness this process yourself and explore it with your own hands, understand? Uxin was stunned at first, then her face flushed red as she spat out, "Lecture?" Lin Chen laughed and left with everyone. Skysplit Tower was located in the center of Flying Dragon City. Lin Chen had to first settle everyone down and prepare well before entering Skysplit Tower to expand his acupoints in one fell swoop. Flying Dragon City, Cloud Cauldron Tower. There was a floor in this tower that was specially used to entertain distinguished guests of 7th grade and above. Just as Lin Chen and his group entered, hearty laughter could be heard. Ha ha, look who's here. Our protagonist is here. TSK, the first thing he does is to steal the bride. Lin Chen's temper is still the same. Otherwise, how can he be called the Pill region's Heaven's Choice champion? This is the boldness that our champion should have. Little Demon Empress and Heaven's Choice champion, a perfect match, ha ha ha. A group of figures sat in the hall on the second floor of Cloud Cauldron Tower as if they had been waiting for a long time. Once they saw Lin Chen arrive, they all teased him. Lin Chen was delighted. It was actually Elder Shern and his group from the Realm Tower, as well as the Pill region's Elder Guild and Song Ilian. People from both sides were here. Hearing their teasing, Lin Chen already guessed that they had secretly observed the situation in Wulong City. Everyone took their seats and gathered in the hall. At this time, the little demon Empress Ant couldn't help but ask everyone from Myriad Flame Palace. "Oh right, may I know who the seniors are?" The people from Myriad Flame Palace were also confused and could only look at Elder Myriad Flame. Elder Myriad Flame said with a smile, I've already said that you have fate with the savior of my myriad flame palace. You can be considered my myriad flame palace's savior. Meeting myriad flame palace at the Yi family's banquet was indeed a coincidence. And the item that Lin Chen gave to myriad flame palace was an arrow fragment used by the heaven-burning arrow saint, Qi Fian. And the savior of myriad flame palace was Qi Fian. Back then, Qi Fian had met the founders of myriad flame palace and risked his life to save their lives in a battle against the devil race. Since then, myriad flame palace and Qi Fian had an indissoluble fate. It could even be said that if it wasn't for Qi Fian, there wouldn't be today's 8th-rank sect, myriad flame palace. Among all the servants that Lin Chen brought back from the 19th floor, they more or less gave Lin Chen a keepsake. It allowed him to rely on the forces that he trusted the most back then and obtain considerable help. I see. The people from Purple Cloud King Valley were deep in thought. Lin Chen, although I really want to discuss alchemy with you, you need to save your energy and expand your acupoints in one go to snatch back your confidant. Song Ilian clenched her fists and encouraged Lin Chen. Lin Chen blushed. Cough, cough, cough. A good friend, not a confidant. The little demon empress rolled her eyes. Elder Shun stroked his beard and smiled. I've always believed in this little guy. Lin Chen cupped his fist seriously. Elder Shun, I'll never forget your care back then. If you need anything, feel free to call me. TSK, the Realm Tower took care of you, Lin Chen. Didn't we take care of you too? Lin Chen, you little brat. I was wondering why you didn't call us when you were fighting. So you went to snatch the bride. How long has it been and you've already forgotten about our Qin Cheng? When a group of figures walked into the meeting room, Lin Chen was shocked. Everyone from Sword Region was here too. Chapter 1401. He's handsome, so he flirts quickly. His speed of flirting is almost as fast as changing clothes. Lin Chen, is this the answer you're giving us? A group of people walked into the Cloud Cauldron Inn. When they opened the door, the 3 elders looked at Lin Chen with sharp eyes. Grandfather. Her bright red hair was as beautiful as fire, and she frowned slightly as she rebuked the 3 elders. The 3 old men in the lead were the 3 old men from the Sword Region who had helped Lin Chen back then. Jian Qingqing, Jian Cheng, and the rest had also arrived at Dragon City. None of the top forces were willing to miss out on this grand event. The battles on the Demon Genius list were unparalleled since ancient times. Look at you, you haven't even married into the family and you're already speaking up for this brat. Aren't you afraid that he'll bully you after you marry him? No, you can't do this. The Sword Emanation's elder's face was serious. Lin Chen stood up and laughed. Seniors, you must be joking. I'm just helping my good friend out of trouble. What are you talking about? Jian Cheng waved his hand and laughed. Don't mind them. These 3 old guys are just acting up again, ha ha. Lin Chen invited everyone to take a seat. As he talked and laughed, he was calm and terrifyingly confident. He didn't seem like someone who had just caused a ruckus in the Yi family. Lin Chen, you must save Miss Yi Qingwu. Jian Qingqing's serious expression immediately made the 3 old men cough. Girl, why are you speaking up for an outsider? Jian Ming criticized Jian Qingqing, and the Sword Emanation's elder looked at the little demon empress with caution. This woman was indeed a beauty who could bring disaster to a country. In some ways, she was even better than their precious granddaughter Jian Qingqing. The top 10 beauties on the monstrous genius list were not just for show. The little demon empress smiled at Jian Qingqing, and it was extremely charming. Thank you. Don't worry, I won't fight with you for Lin Chen. Jian Qingqing shook his head. Miss Qingwu, that's not what I meant. My mother personally left the sword domain when I was young. I understand the feeling of cherishing one's family very well. Miss Qingwu, who is in between the 2 aristocratic families, must have suffered a lot, so... Jian Qingqing clenched her fists and pretended to be fierce as she said to Lin Chen, so, if you don't win, I won't let you go. Lin Chen shook his head and chuckled. Before he could say anything, Song Ilian spoke up. Lin Chen, if you want to expand your acupoints, perhaps there is something that can help you. She flipped her palm and a glazed jade box appeared. Countless spiritual threads intertwined around it, as if it contained endless spiritual imprints. Just a glance at it could cause a saint's mind to become chaotic. This is... Lin Chen was curious. This item must be a high-level saint pill. This is one of the 2 holy elixirs that she refined when she was in an excellent state. The 7th grade holy elixir, Bodhi Transformation Holy Elixir. The Pill Region Elder stroked his beard and said with a smile, "This elixir can increase the possibility of breaking through the bottleneck when expanding your acupoints to the limit. It can help you expand your acupoints even further. As for how much it can expand, it depends on the accumulation of the user." Everyone was shocked. A 7th grade holy elixir. The Pill Region Elder Guild was really willing to help. Even a powerful 8th grade sect like the Thousand Flames Palace couldn't take out a 7th grade holy elixir just because they wanted to. Take it. This is your reward for leaving your alchemy outline with the Elder Guild. Song Ilian threw it to Lin Chen casually. Although her words were beautiful, everyone present knew that her purpose was obvious. Firstly, she had high hopes for Lin Chen. Secondly, she wanted to do him a favor. The icing on the cake would always be broken with a touch. The friendship of providing help in times of need was the hard bridge. Bodhi Transformation Holy Elixir? Alright, I will accept the Elder Guild's kindness. Lin Chen happily accepted the holy elixir. He really needed it. Lin Chen smiled meaningfully. I, Lin Chen, only like to make my enemies suffer. I don't like to make my friends suffer. I have already accepted the Elder Guild's kindness. When the time comes, I will send back a surprise gift. Soon, your Pill Region Elder Guild will receive it. The Pill Region Elder was stunned. What was this little guy trying to do? The surprise gift Lin Chen was talking about was naturally the creation elixir saint, Yu Wangxing. Yu Wangxing's relationship in the Pill Region was not small. If he returned, the Pill Region Elder Guild's power would increase greatly. Lin Pingyan, who was beside him, was drooling. He pulled Lin Chen's sleeve and said, "What is this good food? Let me see." Lin Chen smiled and said, "This is not for you." Although the Sword Region elders wanted to ask about Lin Chen's trip to the holy prison, they restrained themselves in the end. After all, without seeing it with their own eyes, it was impossible to imagine how a person could sneak into the holy prison and escape unscathed. After a short discussion, the various parties stood up and bid farewell. They congratulated Lin Chen in advance and cheered him on. Lin Chen was staying on the same floor as the Purple Cloud King Valley's people. Shoo shoo shoo, where did this poor ghost come from? You can't even afford a room, and you want to stay in the Cloud Cauldron Inn? In the corridor, a servant was driving 2 people away. It was a white-haired old man in simple clothes and 2 white-robed little girls. They were pure and flawless. "Sir, please excuse me. This old man did not bring enough Saint Origin coins with him. How about I write an IOU?" The white-haired old man smiled kindly. The servant impatiently waved his hand. "Shoo shoo shoo shoo, you want to stay here and write an IOU? Are you kidding me? I don't have time to waste with people like you. If you don't scram, I will call someone to kick you out." "Sir, let me pay for your room. How much is it?" At this time, Lin Chen and the others walked over. When the servant saw the group and the atmosphere, he immediately changed his expression and smiled. "Sirs, this old man wants to stay in our best room. The fee is 100 gold Saint Origin coins a day." Lin Chen waved his hand and paid the fee for the old man. The servant immediately handed over the room card and instructed the servant in a good voice. "Little brother, thank you." The white-haired old man thanked him. Lin Chen smiled and nodded. Just as he was about to leave with the crowd, Lin Pingyan looked at the old man and the 2 girls in a daze. His expression became more and more vigilant. Lin Chun seemed to feel that something was wrong. When he broke into the Yi family, Lin Ping and did not even put the Yi family's experts in his eyes. But now, he was wary of these three people. The white-haired old man looked at Lin Ping and with a sigh, "Oh, it's you. I didn't expect you to have a complete spirit body." Lin Ping and was puzzled and vigilant. "Do we know each other?" The old man shook his head. "No, but this old man has seen you before." With just one sentence, Lin Chun was instantly on guard. Seen? There were very few experts who had seen the painful disaster in this day and age. What was the origin of this old man? The white-haired old man noticed Lin Chen's abnormality and smiled. "I don't have any evil intentions. By the way, little brother, this old man wants to ask you a question." Lin Chen did not bat an eyelid. "Senior, feel free to ask." The white-haired old man stared into Lin Chen's eyes and suddenly said, "Little brother, what do you think a god should be like?" As soon as the old man said this, Lin Chun and the others fell silent. Chapter 1402. Zi Tianhu and the rest were horrified. In the sacred boundary, it was taboo to talk about God. Had this old man lost his mind? The white-haired old man had a kind look, but his eyes became sharp as he stared at Lin Chun, as if he wanted to hear his answer. Lin Chun shook his head. "I can't answer this question, because I don't believe in God." The white-haired old man was surprised and asked, "Then what do you believe in?" This. Lin Chun stretched out his fist. "I only believe in myself and my fist." The white-haired old man was stunned, but he immediately laughed out loud. "Ha ha ha, interesting, interesting. You are a very interesting person. Yes, this old man is looking forward to your next performance." Looking at Lin Chen with deep meaning, the white-haired old man left with the two little girls. The little girl on the left asked curiously, "Great-grandfather, who is stronger between this little brother and sister?" The white-haired old man smiled pleasantly. "Naturally, your sister is much stronger. However, after he expands his acupoints, he might surpass your sister in the future." The little girl was very surprised. "Wow, this brother is so strong. Can he surpass my sister?" "Hee, anything is possible. Even if your sister is a natural saint, there will always be someone stronger in this world." "Grandfather, can you continue to tell us the story from last time? What happened after Lin Xingchen fell? What about his family? Did they not save him?" "Haha, this question has stumped me, your great-grandfather." Lin Chen looked at the white-haired old man's back as he left and clicked his tongue in wonder. The Heaven's Stairway competition was indeed full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. This old man was also an old monster. His background might be even more terrifying than Zui Lao. On the night Lin Chen and the rest stayed in the Cloud Cauldron Inn, the various dragon cities were in full swing. Lin Chen from the Mystic Domain caused a ruckus in the Yi family, snatched the Yi family's 10 most beautiful little demon empress, and stopped the wedding. Both sides made a bet to expand their acupoints. This is too shocking. Let's go and take a look at the Tower of Babel. I'm not optimistic about this young man. I've seen Zhao Mingyu's talent with my own eyes. An elder at the early stage of the star receiving realm couldn't last more than 3 rounds against Zhao Mingyu. This kid is a real monster. He would be one of the strongest in an 8th rank sect. I heard that there are bets on Lin Chen with odds of 1 to 100? Bullshit, I'm Zhao Mingyu. Bah, King Lin Chen. You're Lin Chen? What right does he have? Because he's more handsome than me. In less than a day, the news of Lin Chen causing havoc in the Yi family had spread to all the forces. Within the various dragon cities, there were even many forces that specially rushed to the outside of Tong Tian Tower to wait. There weren't many opportunities to see such an intense confrontation and challenge such a monstrous figure in front of the competition. There were even people outside the venue who started to place bets on Lin Chen, betting that he would expand his acupoints several times. For a time, the various dragon cities became more and more lively. Lin Chen and Zhao Mingyu were standing in the teeth of the storm, in an elegant attic in the Flying Dragon City. Is this the Lin Chen that the goddess mentioned? He has an arrogant temperament but doesn't have enough strength. He's just a boorish fellow. Breaking 9 acupoints consecutively when becoming a sage is just SOSO. There are more than one sage who can break 9 acupoints consecutively in our Divine Flame Palace. I don't care about that. Potential is potential, combat strength is combat strength. Moreover, the rules of our Divine Flame Palace can't be changed by one's fist. What's more, it has to be matched by a powerful force and sect. Even if Lin Chen expands his acupoints more than Zhao Mingyu, he's not qualified to touch a hair of the goddess. The geniuses of the Divine Flame Palace gathered here and held a disdainful attitude towards this matter. Only a scholarly man asked the handsome young man in the hall with a smile on his face. You've seen that Lin Chen? What do you think? The mischievous girl rushed to answer first. Amazing. I like it very much. It's a pity that they didn't fight. I want to see how he beats up the Yi clan or is beaten up by the Yi clan. The elegant man shook his head and laughed, looking at his senior brother. The handsome man nodded and smiled. His words were concise and comprehensive. A person who transcends common sense will turn into a dragon when faced with a storm. This person is a formidable opponent. In the Cloud Cauldron Inn, Lin Chen sat alone in his secret chamber. Lin Ping and slept peacefully beside him, with sugar coating still hanging in his mouth. Lin Chen opened the system and clicked on his talent column. System, I want to use the Orange Grade Talent Enhancer to strengthen the Supreme God Possession talent. Lin Chen had obtained the Orange Grade Talent Enhancer once before. The talent strengthened by this item would undergo earth-shattering changes. Supreme God Possession had the effect of both passive and active talent. Strengthening this talent was the most effective and direct upgrade. System, replies the host. Supreme God Possession is a special growth talent. It cannot be strengthened. Please choose again. Lin Chen's mouth twitched. It could not be strengthened? Could it be a fake? After a few confirmations, Lin Chen found out that the enhancer could only strengthen support-type talents such as Extinction, Split Shadow, Absolute Life and Death, Super Chaos, or one-time talents such as Heaven Defying and God Slaying. No matter which permanent orange grade talent I strengthen, the benefits will be significant. If I really have to choose, the one that can kill the enemy the most is Extinction. After some thought, Lin Chen decided to strengthen his Extinction Rupture talent. Consumed 100 million advanced talent point. Host has successfully strengthened Extinction. It has been upgraded to Intermediate Orange Grade. Intermediate Orange Grade Talent Extinction. Consume talent points to activate an attack with an additional injury that cannot be healed. If the attack breaks the enemy's defense and hits the enemy, the injury will continue to expand rapidly and cannot be healed for a long time. The injury will expand and cannot be healed. The previous effect of Extinction was enough to make the enemy's injury unable to be healed. Now the injury would gradually expand as time passed. In other words, Lin Chen would have the absolute advantage in a prolonged battle, unless the enemy was so strong that they could not even break the enemy's defense. Acupoint expansion and condensation realms are only building the foundation. This time, I must adjust myself to the best condition. In terms of accumulation, training, and foundation, there should not be many people in the sacred boundary who can come close to me. Other than those who are inferior to the legendary saint geniuses, I, Lin Chen, can defeat them in every aspect. Lin Chen's eyes were filled with absolute confidence. Once he entered the acupoint expansion realm, the benefits of acupoint expansion were far beyond what ordinary people could hope to achieve. His Supreme God Possession talent passive effect. The effect of all cultivation techniques increased by 300%. As for Lin Chen's Tai Futian mantra, He had opened up the Tai space and obtained a perfect virtual sacred point. Coupled with the passive effect of supreme God possession, the effect would be increased by 4 times. In other words, Lin Chen's final acupoint expansion would be increased by 4 times due to the effect of the Tai Futian mantra. Chapter 1403. Even if Lin Chen's Saint Acupoint expansion multiplier was the same as Zhao Mingyu's, 1850 times, with the extreme God possession and the Tai Heaven Fu technique, his Saint Acupoint expansion multiplier was 9,250 times. Lin Chen needed a good rest now. He needed to be in his best condition. During the time he was in the sacred penitentiary, he had not rested at all. This was not good for expanding his acupoints. Expanding one's acupoints required a sage to be at their peak. If Lin Chen were to expand his acupoints now, it would be like pushing a duck onto a perch. He needed to be in his best condition before he could unleash his full strength. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Lin Chen did not step out of the house. He was recuperating the entire time and did not cultivate. Occasionally, he would read some relaxing books to relax his mind, such as Time Management, The Ultimate Challenge, My Cultivation Method Depends on X. He was completely relaxed. Finally, on the 4th day, Lin Chen came out of seclusion. There were less than 5 days left before the Stairway to Heaven competition. Flying Dragon City was packed with people. All the rank 8 sects had gathered near the Tower of Babel. A monster prodigy was about to walk into the Tower of Babel to expand his acupoints when he realized that there were countless pairs of eyes staring at the Tower of Babel in the center of Flying Dragon City. As soon as he appeared, he was scanned by countless powerful people. He was flattered. Is it this kid? No way. Although he's quite young, he's so different from what I imagined. What are you looking at? That kid is not Lin Chen. Many powerful people were talking in the void. So many powerful people are here to see me expand my acupoints? Looks like they have high hopes for me. That monster prodigy laughed, feeling good about himself. A lady next to him sneered. Stop being so smug. They're not here to see you. You should pay attention to the latest news. Whoosh! Lin Chen arrived at the entrance of the Tower of Babel in a flash of light. Countless powerful beings who were releasing their spiritual wills all fixed their eyes on Lin Chen. Lin Chen released his perfect Saint Rudiment realm mental energy and felt no pressure at all. He walked slowly to the entrance of the Skysplit Tower, causing many almighties to be surprised. This young man. It's him. I can't feel the saint energy in his saint point. Strange, very strange. Is this the Lin Chen who dares to fight with the enforcement team of the Genius List? He doesn't seem to be anything special. Flying Dragon City, inside a secret pavilion. A few powerhouses who were in charge of organizing the Stairway Heaven tournament stood in the main hall and cupped their fists respectfully towards the 3 figures in the dark. I didn't expect the 3 of you to come in person. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you. In the darkness, 3 towering figures sat and transmitted their voice to each other. We're here for one person. The few mighty figures were puzzled and asked, Why are you all here? A few days ago, he challenged Lin Chen from the enforcement team of the Genius List. I heard that he's here too? Yes. The one who spoke was Zui Laoweng. He's about to expand his acupoint. I've already arranged a location for him in the Skysplit Tower. Zui Laoweng wanted to say something but stopped. Expand his acupoint? The 3 figures were stunned. Should we summon him here? No, if this kid has something to do with that woman, we can't touch him easily. Let's see how his acupoint expansion is going. After the 3 of them talked, one of them said seriously, Don't disturb him for now. Let him expand his acupoint first. We'll interrogate him later. In the Skysplit Tower, a mature beautiful woman took Lin Chen's jade monster token and smiled. Prince Lin Chen, right? Senior Zui Laoweng asked us to wait for you. We've already prepared the Acupoint Expansion Secret Room on the highest floor of the Sky Split Tower for you. Please follow me. Okay, thank you, Senior. The beautiful woman led the way. Lin Chen was about to step into the Sky Split Tower when, Class Monitor! A loud shout came. Lin Chen was startled and turned around. In the palace in the distance, Fairy Scarlet led the team alone. Behind her were all Lin Chen's acquaintances. Everyone from Class 66, Han Xiun, Ning Qingxian, Yan Qianyun, Yun Manqing, Leng Yueqi, and Yun Manqing, who had joined the heart-refining palace and had not seen for a long time. Everyone was here. Class Monitor, you'll definitely surpass him. Class Monitor, Ms. Yueqi said that she doesn't mind you picking up another one. You can let go. I was wrong. Brother, I always believe that you can create miracles. Don't care about his ranking on the monster ranking list. Just do it. Lin Lang, don't give yourself too much pressure. In the face of everyone's cheers, Marshal Lin was so moved that he cried, "What's going on? Why is everyone here?" Fairy Crimson winked at Lin Chen, smiled sweetly, and transmitted her voice, "How could I miss your glorious moment?" The importance of acupoint expansion is equivalent to a mortal becoming a saint. When you became a saint, you could explode 9 acupoints in a row. How can your acupoint expansion be ordinary? I'm still waiting to serve you as my master. Lin Chen smiled speechlessly. He gave everyone a thumbs up, turned around, and stepped into the Sky Split Tower. At this moment, the mighty figures who were staring at the Sky Split Tower were talking with each other using their sacred power. He's gone in. Is he finally coming? How many times do you think this kid can expand his acupoints? Hey, the total acupoint expansion of an ordinary genius is only 160 to 200 times. Those who can expand their acupoints by 400 to 500 times are the cream of the crop. In the future, they will advance to the transformative realm, life and death realm, and star realm. Although this kid dares to fight, his talent is too strong. His bloodline and physique are ordinary. I don't think he can expand his acupoints by more than 700 times, let alone surpassing a monster like Zhao Mingyu. If he can expand his acupoints by more than 1,000 times, he is basically a famous monster on the Demon Genius ranking. Although Zhao Mingyu is very arrogant, he does have the qualifications to look down on most of the geniuses. Almost 2/3 of the powerhouses from the Grade 8 and Grade 7 sects had come to watch the stairway competition. They wanted to see how many times this popular young man could expand his acupoints. Even the 3 high-ranking officials who had come to watch the stairway tournament sent out their spiritual thoughts to observe the scene. Outside the Cloud Cauldron Tower, 2 innocent little girls asked curiously, "Great-grandfather, how many times can he expand his acupoints?" Sister's acupoint expansion was 1. Shu, the white-haired old man, made a shushing gesture. The white-haired old man looked at the sky above the Sky Split Tower again. A spatial light screen showed Lin Chen's figure, and he muttered to himself, "Great-grandfather can't see through it either. This is the first time I've met someone who I can't see through fate." On the top floor of the Sky Split Tower, Zui Laowang had specially asked Lin Chen to enter the best spatial secret realm in the Sky Split Tower. When Lin Chen stepped into the spatial secret realm, it was as if all the pores on his body were released into an extremely relaxed state. A whirlpool of snow-white energy surrounded him, and Lin Chen's spiritual senses increased by many times. He was like a blunt knife that was being sharpened and sharpened. My spiritual senses have increased by a lot? This spatial secret realm has a special energy that stimulates the holy body and spiritual senses. In this state, whether it's comprehending techniques or cultivating, it can be twice the result with half the effort. It can also help me expand my acupoints and sense the location of my holy acupoints and holy power very clearly. Just as Lin Chen was about to take out the Bodhi transformation holy pill, 2 cracking sounds came from his body. Lin Chen's pupils trembled. His holy acupoints were about to explode. Chapter 1404. In short, it was the skin-flipping water. Lin Chen did not need to sense the location of his saint acupoints. Stimulated by the space secret realm, his saint acupoints could no longer be sealed, and were about to explode on the spot. Oh no, something's wrong. Lin Chen's expression changed slightly. He felt a sense of danger. The situation might be out of his control. If he could not control the power that exceeded his limits, he would have to pay a price. The saint power that was about to burst out like a storm from Lin Chen's 30 saint acupoints tore apart all the restraints and rushed toward the 31st saint acupoint. Outside the heaven-reaching tower, everyone was staring at the space screen. It's here, it's here. It's finally here. How many times? Is it 50 times or 100 times? Or is it more than Zhao Mingyu? Lin Chen, you better King charge. I've already spent 10,000 Saint Origin coins on you. That's right. I don't care what kind of genius he is. I must beat him up. I'll make a prediction. 100 times. Go up. No matter how strong he is, he can't be stronger than Zhao Mingyu. Chi. Bang. The space shook, and the saint power rippled like a dragon, causing the surrounding white light to scatter. Lin Chen's 31st Saint Acupoint had been opened. The sky prides of the Elixir Domain, Sword Domain, Mystic Domain, Yi Clan, Zhao Clan, Divine Flame Palace, and various monstrous geniuses on the Demon Genius rankings all stared at Lin Chen, afraid that they would miss a single detail. Bang! 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 The 31st Saint Acupoint glowed with a hexagonal radiance. It was so bright that it was even more dazzling than Lin Chen's previous 30 Saint Acupoints. Every time the Saint Acupoint exploded, it would set off a large-scale space ripple. Lin Chen's Saint Acupoint exploded 13 times in an instant. The Acupoint expansion has begun. 12 times, 13 times. Just as an expert exclaimed, Lin Chen's 31 Saint Acupoints exploded 13 times in a row. The saint power rippled toward the 32nd Saint Acupoint. However, the saint power in Lin Chen's body suddenly stopped. It was as if it had disappeared. All the sounds in the Flying Dragon City disappeared in an instant, just like Lin Chen's saint power that had disappeared. Silence, a strange silence ensued. What was going on? What the hell is going on? Everyone had predicted many different outcomes, but none of them had expected this to happen. Ha 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 ha. You're just an ant trying to shake a tree. On the east side of the Flying Dragon City, Zhao Mingyu's unbridled laughter came from the Spirit Moon Pavilion that was reserved by the Zhao clan. It was simply laughable. Everyone in the Zhao family shook their heads and laughed. Yi Lixue frowned. Even she found it hard to believe. 13 times? This young man is too ridiculous. Below the heaven-reaching tower, all the geniuses who were waiting to watch a good show were stunned for a moment. Then, they laughed so hard that they collapsed on the spot. Amazing, 2F** King amazing, ha 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 ha. 13 times? His first Saint Acupoint has expanded by 13 times? Oh my god, is he a hoodlum? How did he get on the monster genius list? The lowest on the genius list was at least 15 times the Acupoint's expansion, right? I'm afraid this is a fake evildoer, ha ha ha. No, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to die of laughter because of this weirdo. Do you remember what he said at the Yi clan? What does it have to do with him? How many times Zhao Mingyu's Acupoints have expanded? It really has nothing to do with him. He can't even touch his heel. I only admire Lin Chen when it comes to bragging. That's right, brother. That's right. After a moment of silence, all the forces in the Flying Dragon City burst into an uproar. What the F***ck is this? My 20,000 gold Saint Origin coins are gone. So much so that he lost his pants. That's all you've got to brag about? Back then, I could expand my acupoints by 15 times. What the F***ck is this? What a waste of time. It's too fake. That's all you've got? The sages were all cursing and scolding. Their endless curses and laughter were mixed with their saint energy, shaking the space as if they were going to shatter the sky and drown the heaven-reaching tower. What a joke! Lin Chen was completely different from the domineering and rumored person he was when he broke into the Yi clan alone. Zui Lao, who was watching from afar, was also dumbfounded. It shouldn't be. How could this be? Lin Chen's temperament and state of mind were unmatched among all the evildoers he had seen. Did I misjudge him? Even if he's not as good as Zhao Mingyu, he shouldn't be this bad. Looking at the legends that Lin Chen left behind in the sacred boundary, he used the Black Horse Club to deceive everyone. When he became a saint with his flesh, spirit, and cultivation. He became a saint with the most difficult combination of 3 and broke 9 acupoints in a row. After that, he killed the geniuses on the Demon Genius list and fought against the law enforcement team of the Demon Genius list. Could it be that all these were just false reputations? Outside the Cloud Cauldron Tower, a white-haired old man with 2 white-haired girls narrowed his eyes. His fingers, which were hidden in his sleeves, moved rapidly as he calculated Lin Chen's whereabouts. That's not right. Although I can't see through his karma and destiny, this kid's foundation shouldn't be limited to this. This time, even the white-haired old man was in a dilemma. In the void, the 3 higher-ups communicated with their mind. Looks like we've been waiting for nothing. This Lin Chen should be an unconventional person. That's right. Look at his vitality. He's so young, but his flesh's strength is over 1 trillion dragon power points. He should be a body-refining genius, but he's not good at cultivating saint acupoints. Potential is potential. Results are result. In history, countless geniuses and evildoers of the same generation have died. Looks like this Lin Chen can only be considered a body-refining genius. Cultivating saint power is the true path of the human race. Below the heaven-reaching tower, everyone from the sword domain and the elixir domain broke out in cold sweat when they saw this result. Old Shin's face darkened even more. Normally, when a saint expanded his acupoints, the first expansion would be the highest. Even if the evildoers on the evildoers list could break the rules and surpass the first expansion, the difference wouldn't be that great. This meant that no matter how Lin Chen expanded his acupoints in the future, it would be around 13 times. At most, it would be 20 times. This meant that the total expansion would not even be 150 times. It was clear that the bet between Lin Chen and the Yi clan was a loser. Old Shin frowned and said, "What's going on?" According to Lin Chen's foundation and character, even if his talent isn't the best, he shouldn't be able to achieve this result. The Sword Emanation's elder said simply, "The situation is not right. There must be an accident." Song Ilian said with certainty, "He's definitely not that simple. There must be an accident." Uxnr, who was at the side, frowned. She was even more disappointed. "Young Master Lin Chen, could it be that you're like those thieves in the secular world who only know how to boast? You've really disappointed me." Only the little demon empress, class 66, Leng Yueqi, Ning Qingxian, Yun Manqing, Yan Qianyun, and the other beauties noticed Lin Chen's abnormality almost instantly. Lin Chen looks like he's in pain? Class monitor doesn't look right. He doesn't look like he's usually at ease. At this time, Lin Chen, who was sitting cross-legged in the air, had a twisted expression on his face. He looked like he was in pain. "It's okay. He can definitely handle it." At this time, Lin Ping'an, who was chewing on a fruit, said with a clear voice. She was probably the calmest person in the entire place. Chapter 1405. The match was set. Lin Chen had lost. This was an ironclad fact. The 31st Saint Point had only expanded by 13 times? No matter how hard he tried, he would not be able to create a miracle. Outside Skysplit Tower, many experts were so angry that they left. There were also many people who stayed to watch the show. They found it even more interesting and looked forward to seeing Lin Chen's expression when he walked out. Many of the grade 8 sects felt like they had been toyed with. The Yi family and the Zhao family felt even more humiliated than before. Was this kind of person worthy of making a bet with them? It seems that we overestimated him. Patriarch Zhao smiled casually. This is good too. Our relationship with the Yi family will not have any accident. After all this, he is just a clown. Zhao Mingyu sat back down, calm and unruly. The beautiful servant next to him massaged his shoulders and legs. Yi Lixuan narrowed her eyes. Things may not be that simple. Even if there is a 1 in a million chance, don't underestimate your opponent. Watch first. Obviously, she also noticed the change in Lin Chen's expression. It was better to be safe than sorry. Below Skysplit Tower. Should we rush in and save the class monitor? Bai Juanhao, are you crazy? This is Skysplit Tower. What are you rushing in for? Let's watch first. Don't be anxious. The class monitor has turned danger into safety many times. We have to trust him this time. Blindly helping will backfire. Everyone in Class 66 was anxious. Elder Wanhua of Thousand Flame Palace stroked his beard and smiled. Let's watch until the end. No matter success or failure, I believe in Lin Chen. There was no one in the world who could save Qi Fian. Even a Saint King could not do it. Elder Wanhua was willing to watch until the end. He was even calmer than the Pill Region and Realm Tower. Are you a man who only has sex? I don't believe that. On Fairy Crimson's beautiful face, there was a faint smile of peerless beauty as she waited quietly. Jian Qingqing and the little demon empress looked at each other and laughed. It was as if Lin Chen had some kind of magical power. After a brief moment of shock, everyone from the Realm Tower, Pill Domain, and Mystic Domain calmly waited for the final result. That's right. Every time they recalled the first time they met Lin Chen, didn't it start with his various inconceivable deeds? When was there ever a time when he did things that were expected by others? When he was still a war emperor, he had massacred the prodigy ranking. He even dared to suppress the might of a saint king. He had never bowed his head before the will of a god. Even when it came to refining pills, he had never taken the ordinary path. Such a person only knew how to expand his acupoints by 13 times? Impossible, it's impossible at all. Inside the space secret realm, Lin Chen sat cross-legged. His slightly pale face was covered in cold sweat, and the system's screen continued to pop up. The situation had exceeded his expectations. It was so serious that his scalp went numb. The reason why Lin Chen's 31st Saint Acupoint had only expanded 13 times when he entered the Acupoint Augmentation realm was not because Lin Chen's accumulation was not enough. On the contrary, the accumulation was too abnormal. His accumulation of Saint energy was too strong. It was so fast that it was not an exaggeration to say that it was the fastest in history. How strong was Lin Chen's accumulation of Saint energy? Summary. At this moment, Lin Chen could only use the Slowing Rune on himself in order to temporarily stop it. Slowing Rune is continuously activating, consuming 300 points of top-grade rune energy, consuming 500 points of top-grade rune energy, consuming 200 points. Lin Chen's top-grade rune energy attribute was rapidly being consumed to suppress the massive amount of Saint energy that was about to go berserk. Although Lin Chen now had more than 4 million top-grade rune energy attributes, at this rate, his rune energy would be completely depleted in less than 10 days. The Saint energy is starting to surge out. It's impossible to seal it. There's only one way left. The Saint energy was about to burst through Lin Chen's spiritual control and Saint body. His state of mind began to calm down as he searched for the only way to deal with it. He had to control and guide the direction of the saint energy. If he couldn't control the massive amount of saint energy, his cultivation would instantly break through the fourth heaven saint realm, fifth heaven saint realm, and even sixth heaven saint realm, life and death realm. It was extremely likely that he would become the fastest existence to reach life and death realm in the sacred boundary. But was it a good thing? Absolutely not. Once the speed of breaking saint energy was too fast, it would lose its quality. Under the high-speed chain of breaking saint energy, it would be impossible for the saint energy to reach a high level. If this happened, it would definitely cause permanent damage to Lin Chen. That was because the aperture expansion realm and the transformation realm were the two most important foundational realms in the saint realm. I have to concentrate wholeheartedly. The 31st saint energy point has already been opened. I have to pour all my accumulated saint energy into the next 9 saint energy points. I have to control it within the range of my control and use all my saint energy on the aperture expansion realm. Lin Chen was determined to break through to the aperture expansion realm. He didn't even plan to break through to the transformation realm. The more solid his foundation was, the more he would soar to the heavens when he reached life and death realm and star realm in the future. Just like that, 3 whole days passed. In these 3 days, Lin Chen was like an old monk in meditation. He didn't move at all. The saint energy seemed to have disappeared from his body. The people inside and outside the heaven-reaching tower had changed several times. Some of the monstrous geniuses had already succeeded in breaking through 50 or 60 saint energy points. Their success had attracted the attention of many experts. There were also many people who were disdainful of the young man on the light screen at the top of the tower. There are less than 2 days until the Stairway Heaven competition. It seems like it's impossible to reverse the situation. Zui Laowang sighed. He had misjudged Huang Xiaolong. After he finished speaking, his figure flashed and flew towards the heaven-reaching tower. He planned to pull Lin Chen out of the spiritual secret realm. No matter how noisy the outside world was, Lin Chen's body and mind felt as if they had sunk into a deep ocean. His consciousness was only focused on the majestic saint energy that was gushing out. In these 3 days, Lin Chen's spiritual strength had reached its peak. However, at the same time, more than half of the rune's energy had been depleted. He had already reached the limit of his current control. System, start to reduce the activation of the slow rune. The slow rune is being activated less frequently. The host saint energy is being removed. Within Lin Chen's saint acupoint, terrifying saint energy fluctuations began to surge. It's time for it to blossom and bear fruit. Scenes of the past flashed past Lin Chen's mind. Then, all the experiences and training turned into the foundation for him to break through to the next level. Finally, like rivers converging into the sea, he soared into the sky. With his spiritual strength focused, Lin Chen aimed at the 32nd saint energy point. Second acupoint expansion. Open for me. Lin Chen opened his eyes. His domineering aura leaked out. The 31st saint energy point shone brightly. A ray of divine light penetrated the 32nd saint energy point. It engulfed the world and swept away the stars and the moon. The saint energy in his body surged like a raging dragon and rushed towards the 32nd saint energy point. Outside the heaven-reaching tower, just as Zui Laowang was about to enter the Tongtian Tower, whoosh! Rumble! A loud explosion sounded as if heaven and earth had been turned upside down. Zui Laowang was caught off guard and took 2 steps back. What happened? No, it's coming from the direction of the Tongtian Tower. How is that possible? The Tongtian Tower has never trembled before. What's going on? When the various forces looked at the Tongtian Tower again, they saw a screen that was filled with saint energy points. It was Lin Chen's space mystic realm. Rumble! Bang! 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 The horrifying sound of exploding acupoints was like the shattering of mountains and rivers. A series of explosions sounded like heaven and earth wailing. 50 times, 100 times, 150 times. It was still rising unstoppably. All the experts who sensed the changes were dumbfounded. Chapter 1406. The sudden change and momentum shocked everyone. Wait a minute, it's Lin Chen's position. Oh my God, how many times did he explode just now? 200 times, it's 200 times. No, it's more than that. He is still expanding his acupoints. The 32nd Saint acupoint has not been completely expanded yet. 300 times. The Yi family, the Zhao family, and all the powerful figures of the 8th rank sects were dumbfounded when they came to their senses. What's wrong with this kid? He's been accumulating for 3 days and now he's going all out? Bang, bang, bang. The earth-shattering explosion came through the spatial light screen, and for the first time, the Tower of Babel began to shake violently. Lin Chen's 32nd Saint point exploded 500 times in a row. 500 times. More and more powerful figures came to their senses. He's only starting now? The class monitor is finally going to explode. I knew he wouldn't let it end like this. Everyone in class 66 was wild with joy, and they waved their arms and cheered for Lin Chen. The eruption of Saint energy spread across the heavens and earth, like a cosmic storm that swept across the stars. All of a sudden, the eruption of this Saint energy was gradually increasing in intensity and intensity. Bang, bang, bang. The space in Lin Chen's 32nd holy point exploded one after another, and the holy force it contained was more than 100 times larger than the previous holy point. After the 32nd holy point exploded 700 times, the hexagonal starlight appeared in Lin Chen's body. The mighty figures of the various rank 8 sects sucked in a breath of cold air. Many powerful figures even went crazy, and their faces were full of shock and confusion. What's going on? What's going on? A single expansion of the holy point had reached 700 times. He's broken the record. Damn it, what's going on? I haven't recovered from the shock, and this kid has expanded his holy points by 700 times. In the record of the Super Genius list, no one has ever expanded their holy points by more than 350 times. This kid has exceeded the record by 2 times. The entire Flying Dragon City was in a mess, and the forces that wanted to disperse once again focused their attention on the Tower of Babel. In the Spirit Moon Pavilion, Patriarch Zhao stood up. Zhao Mingyu used his saint energy and crushed the wine glass in his hand. The wine spilled all over his body. His arrogant face was filled with disbelief. 700 times? How is that possible? Although Yi Lishua's cold and beautiful face looked calm, she was silently biting her red lips. Don't tell me you can still make a comeback at this juncture, below the Tower of Babel. Elder Wanhua's heart skipped a beat. Oh no, could that be the case? The elders of the Elixir region and Elder Shen of the Boundary Tower reacted at the same time. Their expressions were ugly. Song Ilyan reacted quickly and said in a deep voice, Sir Myriad Fire, are you saying that Lin Chen might be in the same situation as the monster Chu Jingyun from 100,000 years ago? Did he expand the acupoint too fiercely and overshoot his head? 100,000 years ago, there was a monstrous genius who tried to break through to the enlargement point realm. At the cost of condensing his life force, he broke through the 31st Saint acupoint, expanding his acupoints by 99 times. However, at that time, that monstrous genius hair turned white in an instant. His life force was exhausted, and he expanded his acupoints several times each time. In the end, the total expansion of his acupoints was less than 100 times. His ending was extremely tragic. That's right. Elder Wanhua nodded and stared in Lin Chen's direction without blinking. Everyone was worried that the tragedy would repeat itself. They were afraid that Lin Chen would use too much strength and concentrate all his energy on expanding his acupoints a second time. Then, he would become the second Chu Jingyun. The other mighty figures were the same. They more or less thought of the Chu Jingyun from back then. At this time, all their eyes were focused on Lin Chen. However, this was just a gust of wind before the storm. In the space mystic realm, Lin Chen's lips curled up slightly. He raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. All 6 illusionary doppelgangers appeared. Next is the real beginning. System, continue to reduce the sluggish rune. Lin Chen's fighting spirit rose. All his doppelgangers and main body controlled the terrifying saint energy together and rushed into the 33rd saint acupoint. Chi. Boom. Bang. 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 The sound of an acupoint exploding seemed to tear the sky apart. The sun and moon lost their light, and sand and stones flew everywhere. It was as if a destructive force had exploded in the entire space mystic realm, shaking heaven and earth. 100 times, 300 times, 600 times. When the 9-colored saint light passed through the light screen, all the powerful figures in the Flying Dragon City were shocked. Lin Chen was not the second Chu Jingyun. His accumulation was so vigorous that it was more than enough compared to before. Lin Chen's 3rd acupoint expansion was unstoppable. Like a gust of wind and thunder, he broke through the 33rd saint acupoint and surpassed 1,000 times. The heaven-reaching tower trembled violently, and ripples continued to appear in the space. 1,100 times. A mighty figure from an 8th grade force was shocked. He only used 3 acupoints expansion, and it's almost the same as Zhao Mingyu's expansion. 1,100 times, 700 times, 13 times. With just 3 acupoints expansion, Lin Chen's total acupoint expansion had reached 1,813 times. Zhao Mingyu's was 1,850 times. The difference between the two is only 37 times. It's not over yet. This kid's aura is still strong. The eyes of several 8th grade mighty figures lit up. Good fellow, he had been accumulating power for the past 3 days. Everyone in the Zhao family was furious. They clenched their fists and stared at Lin Chen. Inside the space mystic realm. It's not over yet. The show has just begun. Lin Chen roared and suddenly stood up. He activated the Tai Heaven Concealing Art. The strong saint energy was like billions of heavenly dragons. It was invincible and broke through the 34th saint acupoint in one go. Bang! An explosion directly blasted through the space mystic realm he was in. The 9-colored saint light danced like countless divine lights, shuttling through the void and shattering the sky. Bang! 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 Boom! 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 The endless sounds of explosions shook the sun and the moon, alarming all the mighty figures. The 34th saint acupoint opened, and the explosions continued for 1,000 times, exploding 1,400 times. Below the heaven-reaching tower, the people of the Pill region and Realm Tower cheered. Class 66 was even more excited. The little demon empress smiled sweetly, her charm unparalleled. As expected, no one in this world can see through you. At this moment, all the mighty figures in Flying Dragon City stood up. The monstrous geniuses who mocked Lin Chen earlier opened their mouths slightly, as if they had seen a ghost. The expressions of all the mighty figures were surprisingly the same. Disbelief was written all over their faces. 1,400 times. The 4th time, 1,400 times. He surpassed Zhao Mingyu. Zhao Mingyu is nothing now. His total acupoint expansion is 3,213 times. It's too scary. Since ancient times, how many people on the monstrous genius list have exceeded 3,000 times? At this moment, all the mighty figures appeared one after another, turning into streams of light and flashing over. The sky was filled with Sacred Heart Realm mighty figures. There were dozens of them. All of them were mighty figures from 8th grade sex. They all came personally to observe Lin Chen's acupoint expansion. They were no longer in the form of thoughts. It's not over yet. He still looks calm and composed. This kid still has energy left. He still has 6 more acupoint expansions. It's too scary. How many tricks does he have up his sleeves? All the forces were in an uproar as if they had gone crazy. Lin Chen's ultimate counterattack. The history of the monstrous genius list's acupoint expansion would be rewritten from this moment on. This acupoint expansion could be said to be full of ups and downs, unprecedented. No one would have thought that Lin Chen's starting point would only be 13 times. But what was even more unexpected was that when he truly exerted his strength, it was so heaven-defying that it refreshed the monstrous genius list's record. There were 6 more acupoint expansions left. Where would history lead to? Everyone widened their eyes and anxiously waited for the final result. Chapter 1407. Below the Tower of Babel, while Class 66 and the others were cheering, Uxin covered her mouth with her hands and stared at the screen in the air. No wonder his people believed in him until the end. Lin Chen, who is this person? Zui Laowen clenched his fists in the air. His judgment was right. 1,400 times, where can this little guy go? Everyone was looking forward to it. The rank 8 mighty ones near Flying Dragon City reacted faster than the other, and they all gathered toward Flying Dragon City. Inside the space secret realm, Lin Chen's 34 saint acupoints were like the brightest stars in the universe. Just the saint power that they emitted was like a hurricane. Starting from the 32 saint acupoints, each saint acupoint seemed to have opened up a new universe. The new saint acupoints could contain even more saint power, causing Lin Chen's saint power cultivation to undergo a complete qualitative change. What was more terrifying was that the Tai space in Lin Chen's dantian was spinning with the same hexagonal star. The Tai space's saint acupoint was even stronger than Lin Chen's saint acupoint. So this is the acupoint expansion stage. How powerful is this saint power? Lin Chen was in a good mood. Then, he activated the system again and reduced the use of the slow rune again. Rumble! The saint power that was sweeping across the entire realm suddenly exploded. With the 6 clones holding down the fort, the endless and violent saint power was like a tamed dragon, allowing Lin Chen to aim at the 35th saint acupoint and break it in one go. Boom! Bang! 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 The momentum of breaking the acupoint was like a landslide and a tsunami, causing the sky to fall and the earth to crack. Lin Chen's 35th saint acupoint exploded, and the space in the saint acupoint was like a new chaos, with new saint power pouring in. It was as if a new universe had been created, and it could contain mountains, rivers, sun, and moon. The realm shook violently, and beams of saint light exploded from Lin Chen's body. 9 colors and 1,000 sounds rang out, and every saint's heartstrings throbbed. It was as if they were witnessing the birth of a new member of the monster rankings. 1,000 times, 1,500 times. Following the final explosion of his saint acupoint, Lin Chen's 5th acupoint expansion came to a successful conclusion. In the entire Flying Dragon City, there was only silence and shock everywhere. 2,000 times. Lin Chen's 5th acupoint expansion had reached an astonishing 2,000 times. Inside the Spirit Moon Pavilion, a jade cup shattered with a crash. For the first time, the experienced Zhao family head had a dull look in his eyes as he stared at the Tong Tian Tower in a daze. He no longer had the domineering aura of the past. He had been fortunate enough to see monstrous geniuses who were more powerful than his son, but he had never seen such an outrageous youth. At this moment, Lin Chen's total acupoint expansion had already reached 5,213 times. Zhao Mingyu stood in front of the window sill, his eyes bloodshot. He bit his lips until they bled. He, who had always boasted of being a peerless genius, was now somewhat hysterical and in disbelief. This time, Lin Chen had only expanded 1 saint point, and it was already several times more than Zhao Mingyu's total expansion of 10 saint points. What was even more frightening was that this kid still had 5 more chances to expand his acupoints. What was a peerless genius? In front of Lin Chen, they were nothing. How can there be such an outrageous amount of acupoint expansion in this world? Zhao Mingyu's eyes widened as his saint power spread out and shattered the void. In the space mystic realm, Lin Chen's lips curled up crazily. He was already familiar with and could withstand the acupoint expansion saint power. Next, he was going to play a bigger game. System, remove all the restrictions of the slow runes for me. Rumble. Clang. 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 Lin Chen's saint points emitted a series of clanging sounds. The saint power that had broken through the 9 heavens and 10 lands was finally released. From the moment Lin Chen entered the holy prison to the moment he broke through it, all the accumulation, all the training, all the accumulation, all the restrictions were released, and all the restrictions were released in an instant. His 30 saint points burst forth with even more ferocious aura. Lin Chen did not need to control it at all. The saint power crashed into the 36th saint point like billions of dragons. Chi. Bang. The saint point opened and a loud explosion sounded. The saint points exploded one after another, forming a new chaos, which turned into endless saint power to fill them up. Lin Chen's main body and 6 clones activated their cultivation techniques at the same time, opening the 36th saint point in one go. Bang, 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 bang. Lin Chen's 6th acupoint expansion broke through 2,700 times. But it was not over yet. The saint power that had lost the restriction of the slow runes was like a wild horse that had broken free of its reins, like a dragon that had broken free of its cage, like a great sage that had taken off the golden hoop and soared into the sky. It rushed to the 37th saint point. The explosion of saint power that changed the color of heaven and earth blasted holes in the mystic realm. Zui Laoweng seemed to have sensed the earth-shattering saint power gushing out, and he turned pale with fright. Old Chen, Old Feng, quick, cut off all the monsters that are expanding their acupoints. Pull everyone out. The 2 elders in the Tower of Babel reacted quickly. In less than a tenth of a breath, they waved their sleeves and cut off the monsters that were expanding their acupoints in other mystic realms in the Tower of Babel. Those monsters that were expanding their acupoints were dumbfounded when they were cut off. What's going on? I was just about to explode. Don't mess with me. I'm Black Xia. Zui Laoweng grabbed the air with both hands and pulled it across the space, teleporting all the monsters out of the Tower of Babel. Just as he pulled them out, rumble, boom. The explosion shook the Tower of Babel and caused it to tilt. The geniuses on the monster ranking screamed and went crazy. All the mighty figures sucked in a cold breath. The Tower of Babel, one of the holy lands of heavenly sanctuary for expanding acupoints, had never fallen since the Antiquity Age. But now it was tilted because of a young man's acupoint expansion. Where did this monster come from? Bang, bang, bang. The acupoint expansion was unstoppable. Lin Chen's 37th acupoint was opened. Holy light shone through the space screen and spread across thousands of miles. It exploded 3,500 times in a row. The 7th acupoint expansion, 3,500 times. In the mystic realm, the 6 clones stood around Lin Chen like stars surrounding the moon, activating their cultivation techniques together. Lin Chen roared into the sky. The 8th acupoint expansion, open. Holy power danced like a true dragon, as if thousands of realms were sinking together, as if heaven, earth, sun, and moon were evaporating together, and rushed into the 38th acupoint in an instant. Bang, bang, The space mystic realm was blown apart. Lin Chen opened 3 acupoints in a row. This time there were 4,500 explosions. His 38 acupoints glowed with the holy light of the sun, moon, and stars, giving all the powerful figures the illusion that he was in the star state. Outside the Tower of Babel, all the gifted geniuses on the gifted genius list stared at the space screen in a daze. That figure was like a god descending from the heavens. That was an insurmountable mountain for them in this lifetime. The geniuses of the Divine Flame Palace were even more excited. The entire Zhao family pooped their pants. The white-haired old man revealed a rare trace of an excited smile. The people of the Elixir Domain and the Sword Domain were all cheering Lin Chen's name. The 8th acupoint expansion, 4,500 times. The total acupoint expansion, 15,913 times. Whether it was those who came out of seclusion because of the acupoint expansion, the powerful figures of the 8th rank sects, or the old seniors who were hosting the Stairway Heaven competition, at this moment, all the powerful figures went completely crazy. Benevolence, righteousness, wisdom, state of mind, cultivation, and knowledge were all gone to hell. No one was able to remain calm. All of them roared like they had gone mad. The peerless genius, has arrived. There were still 2 more acupoint expansions left. After today, everyone in the 100,000 dragon cities of the heavenly sanctuary would know who he was. Chapter 1408. The Saint Genius has arrived on the Demon Genius list. Since ancient times, in the sacred boundary, there hasn't been a single genius who can be compared to this kid. This kid must be a Saint Genius. The Saint Genius list must have Lin Chen's name. Once he expands his acupoints, everyone in the world will know him. The 3 higher-ups in the void were shocked. This kid's potential had completely surpassed the Demon Genius list. On the top floor of the Spirit Moon Pavilion, Madame Yi Lishua had a cold and beautiful face. Under her calm demeanor, her red lips trembled slightly, revealing an unconcealable shock. Peerless talent? Impossible, it's definitely not that simple. Acupoint expansion was calculated based on a saint's lifetime accumulation. Unless it was a saint infant, it wasn't something that could be done overnight with talent. Where did this kid come from? What did he go through? He must have done something earth-shattering and terrifying. He must have narrowly escaped death and fought to survive. He must have accumulated his spirit and honed his soul to an unprecedented level. Yi Lishua's shock was filled with unprecedented doubts. She couldn't think of anything. She didn't have any idea at all. Even someone as strong as her, who was in charge of an 8th-rank family, couldn't think of anything even after racking her brains and deducing. What kind of heaven-defying things did he have to go through to be able to accumulate so much that he could expand his acupoints by 10,000 times? Ambush a life-and-death realm expert at a special time? Or kill a star-receiving realm expert? Go deep into a special dangerous plane? Or encircle the demon race? These ideas were all rejected, because these were simply impossible to accumulate in such a domineering manner. Even with her experience, she couldn't think of a single possibility, because this wasn't something a human could do. Since ancient times, only the saint infant of the sacred boundary could expand his acupoints by 10,000 times. Under the heaven-reaching tower, Qi Yu and the others were ecstatic. Only Elder Wanhua, the 3 elders of the Sword region, and Jian Cheng looked thoughtful and even shocked. That's right. Why was Lin Chen's accumulation so heaven-defying? There was only one possibility. Holy Prison. He really went to Holy Prison, and it was very likely that he had achieved his goal. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to have such a heaven-defying accumulation. This brat really went to the Holy Prison. Sword God above, what kind of monster is this young man? This grandson-in-law is too heaven-defying. Is Qin Qing worthy of him? Without a doubt, once Lin Chen came out of seclusion, as long as he didn't die in the future, he would definitely be a leading figure in any domain he went to. Inside the space secret realm, Lin Chen was full of energy. He was bathed in endless holy light, and he looked like a god that had descended to the mortal world. Lin Chen flipped his palm, and the Bodhi Saint Dan appeared. He swallowed it in an instant, and his 6 incarnations circulated their heart sutras to refine it. The surging and majestic energy flowed into all of his saint acupoints, further increasing the foundation of his acupoints. There were only 2 more acupoint expansions left. Lin Chen's accumulation was about to be used up. He wanted to use all his trump cards at the very end. With Lin Chen's current cultivation and foundation, coupled with the terrifying Tai Heaven concealing technique, and the support of his 6 incarnations, refining a Bodhi Saint Dan was a walk in the park. The 9th acupoint, open up all of them. Chi. Bang. 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 The endless aura of exploding acupoints filled the air and spread in all directions. The space secret realm was blasted into pieces. All of the experts were horrified. The aura of this acupoint expansion lasted longer than any of the previous times. There were 5,600 consecutive explosions. The 9th acupoint expansion was 5,600 times. The total multiplier was more than 20,000 times. The little girl in white beside the white-haired old man waved her little fist and jumped up and down happily. Wow, this brother is so powerful. He has surpassed sister. The white-haired old man's eyes flashed as if he could see through the void. It's not over yet. He is still preparing for the last time. Inside the space secret realm, Lin Chen calmed down and condensed all of the remaining Bodhi Saint Dan's medicinal energy. Right now, he could perfectly control the remaining essence of the Bodhi Saint Dan. This time, he was about to use up all of his energy. If he forcefully opened his acupoints, the result might not be as good as the 9th acupoint expansion. Scenes of the past flashed through his mind. The battle with numerous experts when he charged into the holy prison, the massacre of saints when he overturned the 16th level of the holy prison, and the life and death battle with the Devil Emperor's clone. These experiences had tempered his spirit and fighting spirit time and time again. In terms of accumulation, there might not be another 3rd Heaven True Saint in the sacred boundary who has the same accumulation as me. Lin Chen's gaze was sharp and domineering as he looked down on the world. In terms of accumulation, he had charged into one of the most terrifying forbidden grounds in the sacred boundary, the holy prison. With his talent as a heaven-defying cultivator, he had slaughtered the Hell Master, annihilated a group of devils, and killed a large number of high-level saints and peak experts in an instant. Since ancient times, which genius in the sacred boundary had accumulated as much as him? In terms of tempering, a 3rd Heaven True Saint could kill life and death realm experts, star-receiving realm experts, and even Sacred Heart realm experts as if they were grass. Even the Devil Emperor's clone and the top 10 Saint Devil Kings had died in his hands. In this world, which monstrous genius could have such a tempering experience? Perhaps the answer was no one. It could be said that Lin Chen's state of mind and fighting spirit had been tempered to an unprecedented level. This time, his acupoint expansion was flawless, and he had accumulated enough energy to unleash it. Extreme God possession! Lin Chen let out a long howl. His doppelganger and main body exerted their strength together. When he activated his mental cultivation technique, his talent points decreased drastically. The supreme God possession talent that he had been accumulating for a long time appeared. A majestic figure of a god appeared behind him. He activated the effect of cultivation technique mutation. Charge to the final peak. 4-piece God of War set come. Whoosh. 4 streaks of golden light descended from the heavens, and the god of war set's ultimate arm and leg armor were all equipped. Lin Chen's pure strength soared in a straight line. His dragon energy broke through 10 trillion, 50 trillion, 100 trillion in an unstoppable manner. All of his dragon energy turned into the energy for him to open the 40th acupoint. This was his final trump card. If he had used these 2 trump cards in the previous acupoint expansion, first, the set's attributes would not have been enough. Second, the remaining top-grade essence would not have been able to support him until the 10th acupoint expansion. Then, he would have missed the most perfect moment in his life to open the acupoint expansion. If he tried again in the future, it would not be as flawless as this time. Lin Chen wanted to rely on this aura to rush to the peak of expanding acupoints in one go. Rumble. The invincible god of war's aura descended from the heavens and earth. 9 heavens and 10 lands were covered in the golden light of the god of war. What is that? Oh no. Quick, protect the vicinity of the heaven-reaching tower. All the mighty figures felt their scalps tingle. They could feel a force that could threaten them emerging from Lin Chen's body. More than a dozen mighty figures grabbed at the air and sealed the space at the same time. A streak of golden light shot out from Lin Chen's head. It gathered all of his saint power and charged toward the 40th acupoint. Rumble. Bang. The top of the heaven-reaching tower exploded. Chapter 1409. Chi. Bang. With a loud explosion, the shock wave destroyed everything in its path. The entire space secret realm was blown up, and the entire flying dragon city shook violently. Buzz. 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 A large amount of spiritual consciousness was awakened. This time, the acupoint expansion alarmed all the top experts in the 100,000 Dragon City. They opened their eyes at the same time and looked in the direction of Flying Dragon City in shock. Lin Chen's 10th acupoint expansion shook the entire Flying Dragon City. The last acupoint expansion swept across the sky like the might of a god of war. Golden divine light covered the entire Flying Dragon City, as if the god of war had personally arrived. The saint power exploded Lin Chen's 40th saint acupoint, creating a brand new saint acupoint space. In Flying Dragon City, many powerful figures worked together to stabilize the space so that the acupoint expansion wouldn't affect too much. At the top of the heaven-reaching tower, a series of exploding acupoints completely blew up the top of the heaven-reaching tower. The experts from various forces stared at the smoke at the top of the tower in a daze. Their hearts were in turmoil, and they were shocked like never before. If they hadn't felt it for themselves, they would never have believed it. Even though the truth was right in front of them, it was still like a dream. The previous acupoint explosion had sounded a total of 10,000 times. In other words, Lin Chen's 10th acupoint expansion had reached an unprecedented 10,000 times. All of Lin Chen's consumption and accumulation had finally been completely squandered at this moment, and it was a perfect ending. In a barren graveyard in a dragon realm in the heavenly sacred realm, 3 peak-level rank 8 holy dragons lay in a pool of blood, and their corpses were like mountains. The cold and indifferent white-clothed youth sheathed his sword. He had a dignified appearance, and his brows were piercingly cold. Only his pair of golden eyes did not seem to belong to the mortal world. It was as if there was a divine sword intent that pierced through the heavens, peerless and invincible. An aura that broke through the clouds shook the sky, and he suddenly looked in the direction of the heavenly sacred realm. This saint power fluctuation. The young man narrowed his eyes. Buzz. At this moment, the ancient mirror at his waist flashed. The young man opened the ancient mirror, and there were only 8 words on it. Quickly return to the divine realm to complete the expansion. She wants me to return to the divine realm? The young man was surprised. Just as he was about to move, the 5-colored sword behind him came out of its sheath. Boom! The sword was entwined with 5 colored clouds, flowing with colorful lights. The tip of the sword was pointed in the direction of the saint energy. It was the heavenly sanctuary, the direction of Lin Chen's acupoint expansion. 5 emperors, are you telling me to go over? The golden-eyed youth had a surprised expression. The perception of the 5 emperor swords was usually very accurate. Right now, he had just fully recovered from his injuries. Should he follow the sword's senses and head in that direction to investigate? Forget it. Returning to the God realm is more important. If he could complete the blood swap, then no matter what was on the other side, nothing would be able to stop him. Lin Xingqian. The number 1 genius of the divine realm is still me, Lin Xingqian. With a wave of his hand, the sword returned to its scabbard, and a 5-colored cloud of light trembled. The light trembled chaotically, but the sword eventually calmed down. He leapt up and disappeared into the void of space. Heavenly sanctuary. After a long time, at the top of the Tong Tian Tower, a holy dragon lay there, looking extraordinarily handsome. On top of the dragon's head stood a tall figure. His silver robe fluttered in the wind, and the young man's hair was light. He was handsome and refined. His arms were crossed in front of his chest, and the corners of his mouth were curled up. He had the same frivolous smile as before, and he looked down on everyone. The 40 saint acupoints shone like stars, emitting the most terrifying acupoint expansion realm saint energy wave in the history of the sacred boundary. It was unparalleled. When the smoke dissipated, all the geniuses on the demon ranking looked up at the figure on the overturned tower. It was as if he had reached the highest peak in the history of the demon ranking. This is the acupoint expansion realm. Lin Chen glanced around, overlooking the flying dragon city. He looked at the human cultivators in the sky, gazing into the distance. Those spiritual wills that came out of seclusion showed no signs of fear. Everyone in the world is in my eyes. Those existences that he had to use his trump card to fight against, those powerful beings who once stood proudly in the sacred boundary, were nothing more than that. Staring at the 9-colored holy light flowing in his palm, Lin Chen's mind raced. He had the illusion that he could turn the world upside down with a flip of his hand, and pick up the stars and the moon with a raise of his hand. If he used the God's Tears saber technique with his current cultivation, what would it be like? No, it's not an illusion. Now, in the entire Flying Dragon City, there are not many people who can threaten me. In the vast sacred boundary, there are many dangerous places and planes. I, Lin Chen, can come and go as I please. Lin Chen snapped his fingers, and the holy dragon flew down. He landed in the Tong Tian Tower and smiled at the dumbfounded Zui Lao. Well, Senior, I'm sorry. I seem to have used too much force in expanding the acupoints and lifted the cover of the Tong Tian Tower. Let's talk about the losses later. Used too much force in expanding the acupoints. Lifted the cover of the Tong Tian Tower? I'm afraid only you, Lin Chen, would be able to say such words. You're not just a little, you're simply too ferocious, Zui Lao sighed in amazement. After today, this kid's name would definitely shake the 36 regions of the sacred boundary. Lin Chen's previous achievements were not enough in the eyes of rank 8 sects and above. But now, in the entire sacred boundary, no power could ignore him. Lin Chen's 9 acupoints expansion was 21,513 times, and the last one had reached an earth-shattering 10,000 times, surpassing everything on the monstrous genius list. 10 acupoints expansion, 31,513 times. The monstrous genius list was nothing in front of him. Just the strength of the expansive cavern realm alone exceeded 15 trillion dragon power. This strength was enough to shake the 7th heaven sage realm, the receival star realm. Once this kid advanced to the transformation realm, his battle strength would be unparalleled in the world. The expansive cavern realm was comparable to the receival star realm. This was probably the most terrifying expansive cavern realm sage in the history of the sacred boundary. Lin Chen, kid, Do you want to come up for a chat? I'm from the Sage Monarch domain. This time, I'm here to ask you something. In the void, the three Almighties transmitted their voices to Lin Chen. 3 heaven-opening realms? Lin Chen did not bat an eyelid. He smiled at everyone and said, "Everyone, wait a moment. I'll be back soon." Lin Chen's figure flashed, and holy power spread out slightly. It was as if he had jumped through space and soared into the sky. As soon as Lin Chen left, the entire Flying Dragon City was in an uproar. Too strong. 30,000 times expansion. It's 31,500 times. That's 2F** king terrifying. Ordinary people on the monstrous genius list can't even compare to him. A god descending to the mortal world. This kid is really invincible. The various forces were engaged in heated discussions and quarreled intensely. Zhao Mingyu has already lost the first round. What about the second round? This year's Stairway tournament is going to be interesting. No, you're too blindly optimistic. Potential is potential, battle strength is battle strength. Lin Chen can't win against Zhao Mingyu. He's only in the expansive cavern realm, while Zhao Mingyu is in the life and death realm. Once Lin Chen advances to the transformation realm, he'll be heaven-defying. But he's only in the expansive cavern realm now. The gap between the two is still there. Chapter 1410. Don't forget that Zhao Mingyu's dragon force exceeded 22 trillion when he was at the great circle of the transformation realm, let alone now that he's in the life and death realm. That's right. According to Lin Chen's acupoint expansion, his strength should be between 15 trillion and 16 trillion. There's no way he can win against Zhao Mingyu. In my opinion, the Yi family is the one suffering a huge loss. Wouldn't they suffer a huge loss in the future if they let someone like Lin Chen escape? Who cares about that? Hurry up and pay up. I just bet 20,000 Saint Origin coins on Lin Chen. Don't even think about running away. Ha ha, 1 to 100, this old man has made a killing. The Flying Dragon City was bustling with noise and excitement like never before. The geniuses on the Demon Genius list, who had mocked Lin Chen earlier, wanted to find a hole to hide in. They couldn't even compare to Huang Xiaolong's acupoint expansion, so how dare they mock him? Weren't they slapping their own faces? However, there were even more monstrous geniuses who had solemn expressions. Whether it was the veteran life and death realm geniuses or the new transformation realm geniuses, their expressions were exceptionally solemn. The Demon Genius list is about to change. Tens of thousands of zhang high in the sky, Lin Chen faced the three Almighties. He was calm and composed as he strolled through the void. His footsteps were slow and steady, as if he was there to discuss some trivial matters. Even the three heaven-opening realm experts couldn't help but sigh at his boldness. What a peerless genius! With this kid's potential and temperament, they couldn't find a second person on the Demon Genius list who could compare to him. Everyone wants to ask about the Empress of the Demon Race, right? The moment Lin Chen opened his mouth, he revealed what the three Almighties wanted to ask. That's right, Lin Chen's relationship with Luo Yao was the only thing that concerned the upper echelons of the human race. Unless the other party discovered that he had snuck into the holy prison. However, Lin Chen was confident that he could hide it completely. Moreover, no one would believe that he had really snuck into the holy prison. No matter how strong a fourth heaven true saint realm youth's potential was, how could he have entered the holy prison? And it seems like you're a smart person. We want to know your relationship with her. Will she launch an attack on the human race? Or, what information have you obtained from her? I hope you can tell us everything. This is for your own good and for the good of the people around you. The charming young woman in the lead smiled. She was graceful, her skin was translucent, and her eyes were intelligent. She stared straight at Lin Chen, and her gentle gaze seemed to see through him. She knew that this person was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. If she forced him, the result would only be the opposite of what she wanted. I'm afraid you've come in vain, because Lin Chen smiled casually. Because I have nothing to say. Boom! In the sky above Flying Dragon City, the wind and clouds suddenly changed. A white-haired old man unconsciously clenched his fist and said with a fake smile, "Young man, I'll give you one more chance to organize your words." Lin Chen took a step forward, and holy light swirled around him. He stood in front of that mighty figure and smiled casually. I said, no comment. What if you're not convinced you want to fight? Arrogant to the extreme. This young man was simply arrogant to the extreme. You don't think you can fight us after expanding your acupoints by 30,000 times, do you? Or do you think you can be unbridled with the support of that demon behind you? Another azure-robed man shook his head. Young man, don't underestimate our methods. Perhaps we can't touch you in a short time, but if we want to destroy the people around you, it won't take much effort to lift a finger. Lin Chen's expression was calm, and his voice was abnormally flat. Then you can try. If you kill me, I'll kill your clan. The three people's expressions immediately darkened, and the atmosphere was especially tense. They hadn't expected this brat to be so stubborn. In all fairness, Lin Chen didn't think he could compete with a heaven-opening realm cultivator after expanding his acupoints. This was foolish arrogance. However, if the other party wanted to probe him and make him betray Luo Yaoer, it was absolutely impossible. The only possibility was to fight to the death. Lin Chen's personality had always been like this. Even if he risked his life, he could make the other party pay a sufficient price. At worst, if he was forced into a corner, he could use a slowing talisman to release Lin Ping and from the pain calamity. Even a heaven-opening realm cultivator would lose a layer of skin. Haha, why is there a need to talk in such a deadlock? Some things will come when they're meant to come. Karma comes and goes, karma comes and goes. At this time, the old man's laughter broke the silence. The three supreme beings seemed to have thought of something, and their pupils shrank. They saw an old man come over on a cloud. Beside him were two pure and flawless white-robed little girls, smiling as he looked at the three. It's you?" The three supreme beings turned pale with fright. Even this old senior had come? Lin Chen was surprised. This old man was the old man he had helped at Cloud Cauldron Tower. Go back and tell the forces behind you to stop investigating this brat. This old man can't find out his background, but could it be that you know more than this old man? The white-haired old man laughed very naturally, but it made the three people's expressions even more interesting. They didn't even know this senior had attacked? What was this brat's background? Was he a spy arranged by the demon tribe? Or did he have another background? Since Senior said so. Well, since Senior has come out, then there's nothing for us to do here. We will definitely report it truthfully. I hope Senior doesn't have any selfish motives. The three of them cupped their fists deeply, their eyes revealing a little fear and awe. This Senior was one of the treasures of the sacred boundary of the human race. He was unparalleled in the art of divination. The three supreme beings retreated. Thank you for your help, Senior. This kid is extremely grateful. Lin Chen cupped his hands. He could feel that this old senior had no ill intentions. No need to thank me. This old man did what he should do. You still have a painful disaster by your side. If these three people force you into a corner, this old man will be in a difficult position. The white-haired old man shook his head. Lin Chen couldn't deny it. His personality had never been one to accept anyone's threat. The white-haired old man continued. Forget it, don't worry about them. These guys have cultivated for so long, but they are more and more afraid of death. They don't have any eyesight at all. This old man can still see that you, Lin Chen, have a clear conscience. This old man naturally believes that you are not an evil person. The white-haired old man smiled kindly and didn't have any ill intentions. Lin Chen smiled. Senior, you flatter me. This kid is just following his own life's creed. Life and death are indifferent. If you don't accept it, then do it. Life and death are indifferent. If you don't accept it, then do it. Most of the cultivators in the world are deceivers. To have someone like you, my little friend, there is still a chance for our human race to survive. Lin Chen was puzzled. A chance for survival? The old man's laughter had a deeper meaning. In the future, you will understand. Chapter 14:11. Elder Wanhua saw that Lin Chen had returned and asked anxiously, "How was it? Did those people make things difficult for you?" His experience was extraordinary, and he could see that the people who were looking for Lin Chen were not ordinary people. There were strong and weak people in the heaven-opening realm. If Zui Laowang was compared to those three powerhouses, the difference between them was like heaven and earth. Haha, an old senior helped me out. Thank goodness. As Lin Chen's voice fell, he felt an angry, murderous aura aimed in his direction. He suddenly turned and looked in the direction of the Spirit Moon Pavilion. It was Zhao Mingyu. Lin Chen smiled but did not say anything. The current him, even if he did not use a series of killing moves, he could still make Zhao Mingyu suffer. Inside the Spirit Moon Pavilion, Yi Lishua looked in the direction of the Purple Cloud King Valley. Under her calm expression, there was a hidden ripple. A total acupoint expansion of 31,513 times. This kind of result was monstrous and unparalleled. Even if he advanced to the condensation realm, it was the most common standard of the monstrous genius list, but the growth it brought was earth-shattering. The stronger the foundation, the higher the limit. Lin Chen, is it? As expected, he is an unfathomable man. At night, in the private room of the Cloud Cauldron Tower, everyone gathered. Regardless of the rumors outside, Lin Chen was determined to ignore them. In the private room, Uxian bowed and wanted to apologize. Prince Lin Chen, cheers to Class 66. Everyone clinked glasses. Lin Chen ignored Uxian and laughed with everyone from Class 66. I told you that Class Monitor would definitely make them round. When Class Monitor participates in the Heaven Stairway tournament, he will say, "Sorry, I don't fight with people whose acupoint expansion is less than 30,000 times. You can surrender yourselves, ha 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 ha." The little demon empress smiled and patted the stunned Uxian. She smiled charmingly and said, "If he doesn't want to care about it, no one can care. Don't try to figure him out. In this world, no one can see through him." Miss Qinggu, has he always been like this? Uxian bit her teeth. The little demon empress smiled but did not say anything. Her gaze quietly focused on Lin Chen. Tonight, everyone drank until they were drunk. Deep in the night, at the bottom of a lake, the surface of the lake was sparkling. Lin Chen and Ling Yueqi sat by the lake. The beautiful woman's beautiful face had a faint smile on it. "You've gotten yourself another beauty, haven't you?" Marshal Lin raised his hands in surrender and blushed with shame. "Sister Yu Qi, I didn't. The little vixen and I are purely friends." Ling Yueqi raised her eyebrows and a smile appeared on her cold and beautiful face. "A pure relationship? You already called her a vixen, and she's so big. Don't you like her?" The corner of Lin Chen's mouth twitched. He didn't know what went wrong, but he blurted out, "Sister Yueqi's aren't small either." Ling Yueqi stared at him, and after a while, she giggled. She was like an immortal descending into the world of mortals, her beauty unmatched. She lay in Lin Chen's arms, her cold and beautiful face was dyed with a faint red glow. "I've already broken through to the second heaven true saint realm, and my cultivation technique has reached perfection." Lin Chen's body trembled, and he hugged the beauty. The holy dragon appeared and released the extreme hell heavenly prison, blocking the surroundings. When the holy dragon's aura was concealed, he lowered his head and kissed the beauty in his arms. "Host has activated dual cultivation union." beginning to nurture the cultivation of the target and the host. Lin Chen's first feeling was that it was so cold, but it was also abnormally refreshing. This scene of spring was reflected in the air, and no one was around to admire it. Only Bai Qianqian, who was in Lin Chen's fate plant pouch, was blushing. Her cheeks were red and her ears were red. She covered her eyes with her delicate hands and couldn't help but sneak a peek through the gaps between her fingers. The next day, when Ling Yueqi and Lin Chen appeared again, the beauty's cultivation had actually broken through to the perfection of the second heaven true saint realm. The few elders of the Ice Heart Palace were dumbfounded. When the elders sensed her aura, they smiled knowingly. With Lin Chen's terrifying cultivation at the aperture opening realm, he could use his dual cultivation talent to feed more of his cultivation to his women. However, he wouldn't be affected. In fact, he could even obtain a high amount of water attribute energy from Ling Yueqi. Why wouldn't he do it? The next day, Fairy Scarlet found Lin Chen. "Do you still remember our agreement?" Fairy Scarlet blinked her eyes. Lin Chen was surprised. "You can't be serious, right?" Fairy Scarlet covered her mouth and chuckled. "Of course I'm serious." After saying that, she raised Lin Chen's palm. Pink holy light floated, and a peach blossom imprint appeared on Lin Chen's palm. "I, Fairy Scarlet, am willing to serve Prince Lin Chen as my master. I will only recognize one master for all eternity." When Fairy Scarlet opened her palm, a telepathic connection was formed between the two of them. Fairy Scarlet had once said that if Lin Chen could expand his acupoints more than 100 times, she would serve him as her master. Now, Lin Chen had long exceeded her requirements. She actually fulfilled her promise. The moment the two of them established a connection, Lin Chen was shocked. He finally knew Fairy Scarlet's true identity. Whoosh! Even Bai Qianqian ran out of Lin Chen's Providence plant pouch. Her snow-white tail swayed as she hugged Lin Chen's arm and swayed it. She said excitedly, "Master, this big sister is..." Lin Chen was shocked. He still hadn't recovered from his shock. "This big sister will follow me from now on." Bai Qianqian jumped up and down happily. "Wow! Master is so amazing! Hello, big sister. My name is Bai Qianqian." Fairy Scarlet was slightly shocked. She didn't expect Lin Chen to have a legendary auspicious beast by his side. She smiled and said, "Hello, little auspicious beast." Lin Chen knew that Fairy Scarlet's identity was a Providence plant pouch, but he didn't expect her background to be so terrifying. A high-grade spirit plant? No, it was more than that. Lin Chen had never seen a real high-grade spirit plant. It was a peerless treasure that only a rank 7 sect could possess. But Fairy Scarlet gave him a feeling that it was not just a high-grade spirit plant. Fairy Scarlet smiled. "By the way, I've already settled the compensation for you for damaging Skysplit Tower. You can participate in the competition with peace of mind." Lin Chen was stunned. But when he thought of her identity, he sighed. There were probably not many people in Flying Dragon City who were richer than Fairy Scarlet. "Thank you. When everything is settled, I will repay you." Lin Chen grinned. Fairy Scarlet chuckled. "I don't want anything in return. As long as you can become stronger, that will be the best reward for me." Lin Chen shook his head and laughed. When he left the building, the little demon empress had been waiting outside for a long time. "Handsome Lin, you have a beauty in your arms. Don't you remember to participate in the competition?" The little demon empress smiled charmingly and teased Lin Chen. "Cough, of course not. There's still a tough battle waiting for me." Lin Chen smiled and stepped into the air with the little demon empress. The Heavenly Stairway competition officially began. Everyone was teleported into the space gate of Dragon City. The Heavenly Stairway competition was held in a special plane of Dragon City, the 3 clear planes. The 3 clear planes were divided into layers of space, and there was a special space for the participants to battle. Otherwise, when the geniuses and saints of the Heavenly Genius rankings fought, ordinary planes would not be able to contain their battle power. Only a special plane could accommodate them. Chapter 14:12. On both sides of the three clear hall, the various forces were seated side by side. Those who were present were all at least 7th grade. Inside the hall, thousands of monstrous geniuses were gathered. The scene was unprecedentedly spectacular. The experts gathered here were all powerful existences in the outside world. Swoosh! A silver light descended as Lin Chun and the little demon empress entered the hall. This time, the little demon empress was also participating in the Sky Stairway tournament. Although it was only in the outer region, it was already a remarkable achievement considering her age. Everyone's gaze turned over, and the monstrous genius's gazes were even more spectacular. The Yi family and Zhao family were also present. That's Lin Chun? A guy who expanded his acupoints by 30,000 times? He doesn't look like one at all. Compared to the people of Manyu, he looks like a weak child. I think he's just an undeserved reputation? Whether he can fight or not, we'll know in a while. A few of the top geniuses did not personally go to Tong Tian Tower to take a look. Many monstrous geniuses still did not put Lin Chen in their eyes. The reason was simple. The higher the foundation, the higher the starting point. If Lin Chen's acupoint expansion was really that heaven-defying, then the difficulty of his acupoint condensation would be countless times harder than other geniuses. Before one's potential could be converted into battle power, he was a piece of fat meat waiting to be slaughtered. After all, there were too many arrogant people on the monstrous geniuses list, so it was not surprising. Looks like a lot of people don't like me. Lin Chun touched the tip of his nose and casually walked into the inner region's Sky Stairway tournament hall. It had to be said that Lin Chun was a weirdo standing there, because in the inner region's Sky Stairway tournament, there were very few monstrous geniuses who were at the perfect transformation realm. Almost all the monstrous geniuses who could participate had reached the life and death realm. Only Lin Chen was still at the expanded acupoint realm. He was simply the only one in the history of the monstrous geniuses list's Sky Stairway tournament. Compared to the life and death realm and the transformation realm, the expanded acupoint realm was just building the foundation. There was a huge disparity in battle power. Whether Lin Chun could be ranked as Zhao Mingyu was another matter. Zhao Mingyu stood proudly on the other side, his eyes filled with killing intent. Under normal circumstances, life and death battles between people on the monster genius list were forbidden and had to be reported to the upper echelons. However, accidents were allowed to happen in the stairway competition. If a contestant was unable to surrender in time, there were a few cases of monsters being killed in the past. It was not absolutely safe. In terms of combat strength, I still have the absolute advantage. Now I actually hope that this brat can survive a few more rounds, so that I can torture him to death. Zhao Mingyu was overflowing with hostility as he glanced at Lin Chen and the little demon empress from the corner of his eyes. All the 8th-rank families and sects focused their attention on Zhao Mingyu and Lin Chen with different expressions. Inside the main hall, Zui Laoweng's figure appeared. Many geniuses were in awe of him. Looks like everyone is here. He waved his hand and a list appeared. Everyone's names were carved on it. There's no need to talk about the rules and rewards. They've all been listed out clearly outside. This time, it's still the same as before. It's a one-on-one competition. Strength speaks for itself. With that, Zui Laoweng flicked his finger, and the list on the genius list began to scroll. Everyone stared at the list. Lin Chen, on the other hand, was looking at his own system casually. He was too lazy to pay attention to it. To him, it was the same no matter who he picked. This time, the acupoint expansion consumed 3 million of my top-notch rune attribute. Moreover, after entering the acupoint expansion realm, the rune attributes required to cast the illusory rune increased exponentially. I'll never have enough attribute points. When Lin Chen swept his gaze around, gasps of surprise could be heard from within the hall. Gazes filled with schadenfreude were directed at Lin Chen. Why are they all looking at me? Have they finally realized how handsome I am? When Lin Chen raised his head, his list was listed out. Genius list. God descending Lin Chen versus Blood Azura Jing Long. The strange thing was that neither of them had a ranking. The reason was simple. Both of them were ranked below 5,000. They did not meet the rules of the inner circle's stairway competition. They were promoted by an exception. It was precisely because they did not have a ranking that Jing Long was a strong opponent. Lin Chen has lost. There's no way. Although Jing Long is not as good as Zhao Mingyu, he is a battle maniac. He has been fighting demons for a long time. He expanded his acupoints by 990 times and condensed them by 131 times. Now that he has opened 54 sacred acupoints, he can unleash a power of 21 trillion dragon power. He is a ruthless person. It is said that his master was involved with a grade 9 force. His teachings were completely barbaric. Many forces were gloating and looking forward to Lin Chen being beaten up. Jing Long's strength was above average in the inner circle's stairway competition. Clang! A giant sword the size of a coffin was placed in front of Lin Chen. The man was 9 feet tall. He looked at Lin Chen with disdain and arrogance. Don't disappoint me, Lin Chen. Lin Chen smiled. I see that your body is strong. There is purple aura between your eyebrows, but there is a bloody disaster in your glabella. I guess it must be the 5 elements hammer. Jing Long looked at him with disdain. Don't kneel on the ground and beg for mercy later. The stairway competition is not about talking. Now all the opponents who have drawn lots will enter the battle space. Zui Laoweng waved his sleeves, and thousands of demons disappeared. In a desert plain, yellow sand raged. Lin Chen and Jing Long stood facing each other. Jing Long drew his sword. The giant sword was covered in blood patterns as if a blood dragon was dancing. The sword's murderous aura spread for thousands of miles. It was a grade 6 sacred sword. Lin Chen, show me your absolute art. Let me see if the new demon of your generation is a coward. Rumble! Dragon blood rampage. With a roar, the odd crystal's brilliance circulated, and the blood aura condensed. With Jing Long's blood sword as the center, the blood sword was surrounded by a terrifying dragon aura. He raised his hand and held the sword. With a sharp edge, he slashed down. The sword aura was extremely fast and slashed down on Lin Chen's head. Chi! Boom! 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 The desert split open, and the yellow sand burst out. The wind and clouds stirred. Good lad, this Jing Long actually used his best orange-tier sword art. He didn't underestimate Lin Chen at all. As expected of a monster who fought with the demon race. He wants to kill as soon as he makes a move. He doesn't intend to play around at all. In the Three Pristines Hall, all the grade 8 sects were watching the battle intently. They wanted to see Lin Chen's trump card. The pure power that was enough to shake the peak of the Star State. In a normal battle, this kid had no chance of winning. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Chi! Clang! The sword aura that tore through the sky shot out in all directions. The blood sword was actually stopped in mid-air. What? All the experts were shocked. When they saw it clearly, they couldn't help but take a deep breath. Under the blood sword, Lin Chen's figure was as small as an ant. 9 colored sacred light circulated on his right arm. He raised his index finger slightly, and the tip of his finger touched the tip of the sword. The blood sword actually didn't move at all. What the F***ck is going on? Even the mighty figures of the grade 8 forces were stunned, and their jaws almost dropped to the ground. 1 finger. This brat had used a single finger to block Jing Long's killing blow? Lin Chen's lips curled up, and his smile was evil and coquettish. That's it? Chapter 1413. All the powerhouses from the grade 8 sects were filled with confusion and shock. The powerhouses from the grade 7 sects were even more dumbfounded. Impossible. Even if he expanded his acupoints by 30,000 times, he shouldn't be able to stop Jing Long. This kid's move was beyond everyone's expectations. It was true that expanding his acupoints by 30,000 times could defy the natural order and challenge a Na Xing expert, but that was only limited to ordinary Na Xing experts. A saint who could reach the Na Xing realm was at least on the monster ranking or a potential monster. However, this didn't include a prodigy like Jing Long, who stood at the top of the monster ranking and was close to being a super monster. When a life and death realm expert opened a saint acupoint, they would be contaminated with either life or death aura. Every time 2 saint acupoints were opened, life and death would be balanced, and all their saint power would be doubled. For example, a saint at the perfection transformation realm would have a saint power of 1 trillion dragon power after expanding and condensing acupoints. If this saint could break through to the life and death realm and open 2 saint acupoints, his saint power would be doubled to 2 trillion dragon power. If this saint was lucky enough to reach the perfection life and death realm, 10 saint acupoints would be 5 trillion dragon power. In other words, purely in terms of lethality, 51 to 60 saint acupoints in the life and death realm would allow a saint to obtain 5 times the total amount of saint power. However, the main point of the life and death realm was that the saint power would be contaminated with life and death aura. With the saint power of life and death aura, the saint's vitality would be greatly enhanced, and they would be able to regrow their limbs and fuse their flesh and blood. Although it wasn't as perverted as the Sacred Heart realm, it was very difficult to kill a life and death realm saint except for some special methods. According to the life and death realm, Jing Long's 54 saint acupoints would give him 21 trillion dragon power. Even without using techniques, he would be able to crush Lin Chen. But now, judging from the results, this was completely beyond common sense. This kid blocked it with 1 finger? In the Great Desert Plain, Jing Long was in disbelief. How is this possible? Even if he expanded his acupoints by 30,000 times, he would at most be the same as an ordinary Na Xing expert. My Blood Dragon Rampage has even killed Na Xing experts and high-level holy demon kings. How could he block it with 1 finger? The veins on his arms were exposed as he activated all the power of the odd crystal. No matter how hard he tried, Lin Chen was like a mountain in front of him. He couldn't move at all. Brother Jing Long, the next time you want to brag, remember to find your target first. Don't find someone as handsome as me to brag to. I've only used 1/3 of my strength and you can't take it anymore? Lin Chen smiled coldly. He activated his Heart Sutra and activated his saint power. When he held the tip of the sword with 1 finger, he swung his body sideways and launched a kick at the blood sword. TSK. Bang. The blood sword exploded, and the sky full of blood rays fell like broken stars. With a flash of demonic wings, Lin Chen appeared above Jing Long's head like a ghost and punched towards his head. Jing Long instantly felt his blood run cold. His intuition told him that if he did not block this punch, he would die. Clang! The large sword above his head took Lin Chen's punch head-on. Jing Long's blood and qi surged from the impact, and before he could activate his defensive skills, Lin Chen grabbed his large sword with 1 hand and smashed it into the ground of the desert. Rumble! Jing Long was smashed deep into the ground. Lin Chen's momentum was unstoppable. He was wild and domineering. Just by circulating his Heart Sutra and Saint Force, he launched a series of close combat attacks and beat Jing Long up. Moreover, Lin Chen's every punch and kick were all aimed at Jing Long's saint weapon and sacred sword, causing his saint weapons to explode. Attribute light balls fell all the way, and many of them were set essences. Jing Long was beaten into a daze. What was going on? The script was wrong. He had a hunch that this kid would have a backup plan and might be able to contend with him, but he didn't expect him to be so strong. Ka ka ka. Bang. With a loud explosion, Jing Long's 5th grade sacred armor was destroyed. His saint body cracked, and he spat out blood. Inside the Three Pristines Palace, many powerful figures stood up abruptly, looking as if they had seen a ghost. Even Zui Laowang was dumbfounded, let alone the rank 8 mighty figures. This kid didn't even use a single combat skill. He completely suppressed Jinglong with his pure saint force cultivation. Impossible. This damn acupoint expansion is 30,000 times. Taking everything into account, it doesn't even reach 16 trillion dragon power. How can he suppress Jinglong? Too many experts felt like they were going crazy and in a state of disarray. Suddenly, a rank 8 mighty figure felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He thought of a possibility. Could it be that this kid expanded his acupoints by more than 30,000 times? As soon as this was said, all the mighty figures on the podium fell silent. They looked as if they had just found out that their wife was having an affair with someone else, and that the child was not their own. This possibility seemed extremely ridiculous, but it was the only explanation that made sense. Because Lin Chen, this brat, could not be judged using common sense. If that's the case, this kid has expanded his acupoints by tens of thousands of times. My God! Could it be that he was still holding back in front of all of us that day? The rank 8 mighty figure's mouth twitched. Lin Chen, oh Lin Chen! How many trump cards does he have? The battle lasted for less than 15 minutes. Jinglong, who had been domineering at the beginning, had his saint weapons destroyed and his saint body broken. He could not fight anymore. Everyone could see that if Lin Chen wanted to kill Jinglong, he could have done so easily. However, he did not kill Jinglong in the end. Instead, he used his saint power to form 6 professional teams dressed in black and wearing white gloves to carry Jinglong out of the Grand Desert Realm. In the Three Pristines Palace, everyone looked at Jinglong, who was covered in blood, being carried out of the palace. He and Lin Chen were polar opposites. Lin Chen. Your Excellency Lin Chen, Jinglong, who was carried out of the palace, said unwillingly, How did I lose? He was unwilling to admit defeat. In the end, he did not even force Lin Chen to use a single combat technique. He had defeated Jinglong with just a little movement technique and pure strength brought by his saint power. Lin Chen lifted the fringe in front of his forehead and smiled evilly. He turned around and left with a smile. You lost because you treated me as your opponent. This goal is too difficult. Next time, find another one. Hearing this, Jinglong sighed and fainted. Everyone was speechless. The rank 8 mighty figures were in awe. From now on, there would be suspense. Lin Chen versus Zhao Mingyu. They might really meet in the stairway to heaven. Moreover, Lin Chen might not lose. Coincidentally, Zhao Mingyu had also finished off his opponent quickly and returned to the Three Pristines Palace. He looked at Jinglong, who was lying on the stretcher, in surprise. When he turned to look at Lin Chen, his eyes were full of fighting spirit. Wow, great-grandfather, how is this big brother so powerful? A little girl in white, who was swinging her snow-white legs, asked curiously. Another little girl was counting with her fingers. According to the number of acupoints expanded, it should be about 15. 800 trillion dragon power. How is he so powerful now? The white-haired old man stroked his long beard and looked more and more interested. Interesting, very interesting. This is the first time I've seen such a profound heart technique. That's right. According to the Tai Sky Concealing Technique and Supreme God Possession, Lin Chen's total acupoint expansion multiplier had increased by 400%. In other words, Lin Chen's acupoint expansion ability was not 31,513 times, but 157,565 times. more than 150,000 times. He was invincible in the acupoint expansion area. Chapter 14:14. In Dragon City, the various forces that were watching the battles on the Monster Genius list were dumbfounded. They couldn't go to Three Pristine's palace to watch the battles, but every battle was projected in Dragon City for the forces that were there to watch. Lin Chen's 30,000 times expansion naturally became the most eye-catching battle. While everyone was still wondering what kind of trump card Lin Chen had, he had single-handedly received the sword of Jinglong, who was close to a super monstrous genius. He had even brutally beaten Jinglong the entire time, directly suppressing him. Before I met Lin Chen, I already thought that I had seen the world, but after seeing this guy, I feel that everything I've seen before is simply too weak. Is he human? He can beat Blood Azura Jinglong by 30,000 times expansion? Bullshit. King lost everything I bet on him when he was expanding his acupoints. This is crazy, this world. With this Lin Chen, there is no trace of him in this world. Er's mouth opened slightly, so this is young Master Lin Chen's strength. Just how strong is he? How many more secrets is he hiding? She recalled the little demon empress words. Don't ever try to see through him. He's always full of surprises. Is this the man that the goddess fell in love with? As expected, I can't help but admire him. In the audience, the handsome young man in white shook his head and sighed. Expanding his acupoints by 31,000 times was already ridiculous enough. Who would have thought that he was still hiding something? Where did this monster come from? Senior brother, what will happen if you meet him? The mischievous girl from Divine Flame Palace asked curiously. The young man in white smiled. I don't know, maybe I can be on par with him, or maybe I'm not his opponent at all. His foundation hasn't been fully revealed yet, so I can't see through him. However, the other people in the palace won't let him go this time. After saying that, he glanced in a certain direction. Elder Wanhua looked at the leisurely young man in the audience, who had his hands behind his head, and couldn't help but sigh. As expected of the person who could save that lord. This Lin Chen was indeed the most amazing person in the world. His Wanhua Palace didn't make the wrong choice. With a total acupoint expansion of 157,565 times, he didn't panic at all. Even Lin Ping'an, Old Shen, and the three sword domain elders couldn't help but ask curiously. Lin Chen, how many times have you expanded your acupoints? Lin Chen raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, the number of times I expand my acupoints is directly proportional to my handsomeness. The more handsome you think I am, the more I expand my acupoints. However, isn't it obvious to ask how many times the most handsome person in the sacred boundary can expand his acupoints? TSK. If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. Shameless. Lin Ping'an made a face. The elders looked at each other, shook their heads and laughed. From the looks of it, the stairway tournament would not be a problem for him. The battles on the genius list were too much for everyone to take in. Although Lin Chen's appearance was ridiculous, this was a battle between the top geniuses of the sacred boundary. Every monstrous genius had endless opportunities. They were clever and resourceful. When they stood at the top, there would never be a lack of people to look up to. None of the monstrous geniuses lost their brilliance because of Lin Chen's appearance. On the contrary, their brilliance became more and more dazzling. This time, the genius list made everyone realize the tide of the era. The genius list, each generation was stronger than the previous one. The little demon empress also stood out in the stairway tournament. When Lin Chen infiltrated the sacred prison, the little demon empress talent exploded. He expanded her acupoints one after another, and each expansion was no less than 95 times. She was close to the ranks of the super monstrous geniuses. Now, after expanding her acupoints 7 times, she had entered the stairway tournament's preliminaries. If not for Lin Chen's interference, to outsiders, she and Zhao Mingyu would be a match made in heaven. But now everything was unknown. Many people looked at the Yi family, where Madame Yi Li and Madame Yi were. Madame Yi, if Lin Chen loses, you'll be pushing a peerless genius out of the family. An 8th grade almighty seemed to be teasing, but he was actually probing. Yi Lixue took a sip of the fragrant tea. Her beautiful cold dimples were especially calm. She completely ignored the 8th grade almighty. This reaction made many almighties click their tongues in wonder. Even now, she could still sit still like this. As expected, this woman had already planned everything. No matter if Lin Chen or Zhao Mingyu won, if she could marry off her daughter, the value and potential she would get back would be immeasurable. As expected of the woman who revived the Yi family. She's really good at scheming. Soon, the stairway tournament's preliminaries were completed. The second round of drawing lots immediately began. There was no time to rest. This was one of the special features of the stairway tournament. It increased the instability of the battles. Whether one could recover from the previous battle was also an important part. In the second round, Lin Chen's opponent was even more unexpected. It was another important person. One of the top 10 beauties of the genius list, Yu Xin. This woman was not a flower vase. In fact, she was famous many years before Yi Qingwu. Her beauty and strength were on par. Lin Chen stood up and entered the palace. Prince Lin Chen. Nice to meet you. Yu Xin's dimples appeared in front of Lin Chen. He pretended to smile mischievously. Don't worry. I'm very gentle when I hit a beauty. I'll only hit you hard occasionally. Yu Xin did not blame Lin Chen. Instead, she felt an inexplicable sense of excitement. She was a natural genius. Every man around her was polite to her. They either pretended to be cold and arrogant, or they tried to curry favor with her. A young man like Lin Chen, who was outspoken, had a unique personality, and had a unique way of doing things, full of obscenities, could not stop. Once again, the geniuses entered the battle dimension. In the Three Pristines Palace, a few 8th grade almighties were having a heated discussion. Yu Xin is a 8th grade almighty. She expanded her acupoints 1430 times, condensed her acupoints 170 times, and opened 55 holy acupoints. She's only stronger than Blood Shura Jinglong. I wonder if she can find out Lin Chen's background. I feel that he hasn't used his full strength yet. While chatting, an 8th grade almighty smiled at someone from the Myriad Flames Palace. Old man Myriad Flames, what do you think of this battle? Elder Myriad Flames shook his head and laughed. Why are you asking me? The 8th grade almighty smiled meaningfully. Aren't you very close to this kid? Don't you know some inside information? I don't dare to make wild guesses. No matter what happens to Lin Chen, my decision will not be swayed. This is also the decision of the Myriad Flames Palace. Seeing Elder Myriad Flames' resolute attitude, the 8th grade almighties were even more curious. What kind of bewitching potion did this kid give Elder Myriad Flames? Or did he really have a force behind him that even the Myriad Flames Palace had to bow down to? In a lava dimension, heat waves were surging all around. Lin Chen had just stepped in when a soft voice transmission entered his ears. Haha, young friend. My disciple is useless. I hope you can show mercy. It was an old woman's voice transmission. She should be Yu Xin's master. Show mercy? That depends on whether she's willing to accept it. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.